Welcome back to another episode of Cobra Kai Companion, and I am Peter. And joining me, as always, is Watch Party. How you doing, sir?
I am great. How are you, Peter?
I am exhausted, tired, but I'm
A lot of
excited to
mail to
be.
deliver.
No, you know what? Mail, not too bad. A lot of holiday cards as you'd expect, but packages. I think people are getting back on their feet. There was long
And
days.
online shopping.
Yeah, a lot of online shopping for sure. Yes, yes, definitely that. But a happy New Year to you, sir.
Thank you.
How's
Happy
the
New Year to you. Yeah.
yeah? How's the car hunting? Did you ever find one?
Oh, oh gosh. Oh boy, you hit me with the car hunting. I've been to many dealerships. As it turns out,
Russo's? Not
was
the
that
Russo's? Did you go to the Russo's auto?
I didn't. Apparently, did you know
Okay.
apparently one really exists? I think in
No,
Indiana.
no
Um,
kidding. Okay.
someone had mentioned it to me, and I looked it up at one point. Yeah, I think there is actually a real LaRusso auto in Indiana somewhere. I'll look it
Interesting.
up. Yeah. I actually considered it would be a bit of a drive, but going there, why not? But
Might be worth it if you could pick up a
yeah,
Challenger. You
yeah.
know?
But yeah, I think I keep ending up at Tom Coles anyway. Everyone's because
He's a
in fact I
patriot.
just read car sales were really low the past year. They're really down, like
Oh,
lowest
okay.
in 10 years or something. But profits are up, and the reason is because supply is so low. Like I drove into a Honda lot and I felt like
Yeah.
I was driving into a ghost yard, like a ghost town, because they don't have cars. So when you talk to them and they're trying, they give you a list, is like, well, this is what I'm getting in next week, and this is the week after, and they're trying to sell you a car they don't even have yet.
Oh
Like
Lord,
that's
yeah.
that's where the industry is now. Apparently there's shortages or something. So now everyone's a Tom Cole,
Oh gosh,
and
you gotta.
really marking up over the MSRP. We're talking one person showed me a thing, 20%, 5,000 over MSRP. Market adjustment, they called it.
Oh gosh, you got to do the thing where you just like you say, "Hey, I was just on the other side of the town, and they were telling me this price. You can't match that, or you can't beat that. You
Yeah,
know,
I've been
that might work."
considering that. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh wow. Okay. Well, yeah. You mentioned it. A lot of packages online
Hmm.
ordering around the country. I would hope, but definitely in the news station. For those that follow me or that don't follow me on social media, I've been talking about how I needed a change of scenery at where I was working for over 10 years. And there was a point where I left for 2.5 and then came back. But it's just, I wasn't having fun there. I was showing up to work I wanted to strike first, with some people, it was bad. It was bad juju over there. And, I needed out. I went to a completely different town. It's about the same drive, just in an opposite direction of where I'd usually go. Um, so I'm learning new streets. I have my own route now. It's my own customers, whereas I was the fill-in guy for the same five guys every week. So in a sense, I
Right.
had five routes before. But yeah, well, one week, I worked 71 hours, and
Hmm.
I never thought that would ever happen. And, they were starting us at 6 a.m. and I was getting off as late as like 10:30. So, hopefully that's behind me, kind of like today I worked,
Hopefully,
14,
yeah. Yeah.
gosh, what's it? Maybe 12 hours today. Yeah, I worked 12 hours today. So
12 hours, and that's a
it's
short day.
that's
Jeez.
going down.
Yeah.
It's going down. Yeah, it's not 14 or 15. So hopefully, I'm kind of like kind of going away from that, as
Hmm.
we getting away from all the exchange and returns. Hopefully there's not going to be a lot of that. Um, and yeah, just looking, I was really looking forward to this recording.
Hmm.
So, yeah, just really happy to do it. I know I was definitely going to push through even if I was physically, exhausted, new year, new episode. So here we are. Um, I also just, kind of real quick, for those that have been longtime listeners, you guys may have heard a couple episodes in the last couple few months. Sensei Pilani, a good friend of mine. I've met her through the podcasting community. So we've known each other for, gosh, 7 years, 8 years maybe. But I just kind of wanted to give her a shout out and send some love and good vibes to her and her family. I'll just kind of leave it at that for those that, follow her on social media. You guys will know what she's kind of going through right now. But in terms of the Miyagi verse and those that are connected, I know we announced some of the news that came out the last time we recorded, including like Sholo's Blue Beetle movie with a release date and new poster in August for this coming August.
Mm-hmm.
There was no real update on Obliterated except for they wrapped, right? Is there any update now since then?
On Obliterated, I don't think so. No.
Yeah, okay.
Um,
And on the Cobra Kai front, you made
Nothing.
a video not too long ago.
I did, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Shout out to our friends Robin and Matt over at Karate Kid Minute who interviewed Bob Dearden. For those that
Yeah.
don't know or don't
Mm-hmm.
remember, I interviewed him for season 4. Well, actually, we talked
I
about
think
seasons 3 and
you
4,
talked about 3. Yeah, I remember
right?
that, but it was
Because
after 4. Mm-hmm.
correct, because it was the first time I had spoken with him. So for season 5, I definitely want to reach out to him again if he's willing to return. But he wrote episode, well, definitely 10. Was it 5? 5 and 10?
He's done 5 and 10, 3 seasons
Okay,
in a row now, I think.
that's right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right, yeah. So he did the last one. That's right. Um, so you want to talk about that your video and what was kind of revealed on the Karate Kid Minute?
Yeah, so they interviewed him, and at the very end of the interview, they're just sort of asking a couple quick questions. They asked about Obliterated. They did because I think he's a writer on that as well. Um, so I think he was involved with Obliterated, at least in the writers' room, and I think he was saying they're just on post or something. And then they asked him, "Oh, so what's season 6?" And he just kind of said, "Oh yeah, so I think the plan is." We're going to start the writers' room there in February, probably start shooting a few months after, and then, from his perspective of also being involved in Obliterated, he's thinking, well, then after they wrap shooting season 6, they'd probably go back into the writers' room for Obliterated season 2, which obviously has to be renewed first. So that like he was thinking of 2023 essentially, like Cobra Kai writers' room in February, then shooting, then back to Obliterated. But not quite realizing that, he said it's scheduled for February. That hasn't officially been announced yet. But
Right.
as we know, as has happened, basically everything with Netflix, they've always started the writers' room, a while before they've announced it.
They
So it
did that
seems like
with
they have a schedule in place, is what
right.
he said.
And
Despite no official announcement. Mhm.
I think we kind of spoke a little bit about this when I was talking
Mhm.
about like, oh yeah, when they revealed what was it again? Correct me if I'm wrong. Season 4 is in training or season 5 was in training when they dropped the
That was
trailers.
4, right? Because that was
4, right?
that was on the Legacy trailer. The
Right.
very first trailer they dropped on Netflix.
Yeah, because I remember after that trailer dropped, people were, obviously excited for the new content and footage and whatnot. And I was like, you guys, what we're missing here is this is the official announcement that season 4 is coming. Season 4 is in training. Um,
Mhm.
so so I did not listen to that interview because if in the event I get Bob, I don't want to regurgitate the same questions or whatnot, and then I'll
Mhm.
definitely go back and check it out like I did before because that was the second time they've interviewed him on Karate Kid Minute. But I did watch your video, and you played the part that he kind of talks about the writers' room and things like that.
Mhm.
I feel Matt was doing the thing like, okay, I know it's not been announced. Let's see if he takes the bait. You know what I mean? Like that's the way
Oh,
I
actually,
felt.
you know what? One of them, it might have, was it left a comment, didn't realize it was announced or not announced.
Robin
Was it
commented that,
Robert? Yeah. Okay.
yeah, so he didn't know that they were actually breaking that. He had not known. So I don't know. Like I feel I feel Matt might have known, but like, I don't want to misspeak. I just found it funny because it was almost like in the way he asked it. I was like, I think he's doing the thing like, well, he's not gonna officially tell us that it's been renewed, but what are your plans, about this, how he worded it when asking about season six. So I don't know. I'm
Mhm.
gonna have to reach out and ask. But even if he answers, I don't know if I want to share what he actually says, but that's just my opinion from what I heard. So that was pretty
Oh
funny.
wait, no, hold on. It was Matt.
Oh,
If I had
was it
known,
Matt?
if I had known it wasn't officially confirmed, I probably wouldn't have asked the question. So
Oh,
he
okay. I
said
thought it
he
was
thought it
Robin
was
that said that.
understood that it was coming, but it's just
It
like
is. It is.
it's as understood as it can be without an official like Netflix marketing. Hey, it's happening. Like, yeah.
Right. I
So
mean, and
yeah,
come on, what did Hayden tell you in your live stream? Season five, that wasn't the end, right?
yes, yeah. He
So,
said
I mean,
that, and they've said it many times.
that's in your video. So
Hmm.
there you go. Read the tea leaves, I think is the expression,
Hmm.
perhaps. Okay. All right. So, anything else you could think of before we get into it? I think that's pretty much it, right?
And as far as news,
Yeah.
yeah, as far as
Yeah.
news, yeah, because it's been very, nothing coming out, really about anything, counterbalance, but be it Obliterated, Cobra Kai or some of those other projects they have floating around. So,
Yeah. I did share like an old tweet of John Hurwitz's about the writing process. I think it was for season three or something, but it was something to kind of go off of, like, these guys, they have a formula and they stick to it. And so if we believe that they're probably going to follow that same formula that John has
mhm.
tweeted about. And, what I'm getting at is like going back into some of John's old tweets. I did find an article that he had shared. I believe it was either Deadline or Variety, but I had completely forgot about this other project. That it had been mentioned in the articles that they had a workplace comedy in the works as well, and I don't think there was really any other information about it, like who was attached or anything like that. Just that it was described as a workplace comedy. So there was that, then Obliterated, and
Wasn't that the submarine one
it could
from
be.
a few years ago? I think that was the
Yeah,
submarine one.
Brianna mentioned something about a submarine. That you're probably right.
Yeah,
I
that
might be
didn't get
combining
picked
it.
up. Yeah, that
Oh, is that what it?
whatever. Yeah,
Really?
it didn't happen. They whatever, submitted it, pitched the idea, and then I guess it
Oh, is
ultimately
that what? Okay,
wasn't
okay.
picked up. But that was from like 2019, right? Like,
Yeah, about that
yeah,
late
hmm,
2019, maybe early
yeah.
2020.
Hmm.
Yeah. Okay. So, all right, we are gonna get started on our review of episode 506. Is it Ouroboros? Is it? I
I
don't.
think that's how it's pronounced. Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't even look it up to see if it's Spanish or whatever, but we know that Michael Jonathan Smith, who wrote this
It's
episode, he likes those words that kind of
it's
relate to,
Greek.
like.
The word is Greek.
Okay, okay.
Yeah,
Then I
yeah.
probably butchered it then, because the Greek, their pronunciations and such are like really unique, I
Well,
feel.
yeah, we anglicize a lot of Greek words, I think, maybe to the
Oh,
chagrin of the Greeks, but
you're saying, or its origin is Greek,
yeah,
or,
yeah,
or
yeah,
okay, okay,
yeah. Because yeah, that's the symbol and everything that it means. The wording is
right.
Greek.
The snake like eating itself or something with the
Yeah,
tail,
but
or
now
yeah.
that origin is actually, I guess, all the way back to Egypt. I looked it up. Yeah. So
Okay.
yeah, the original, the snake, I think it was in like King Tut's tomb, even, that goes back, we're talking, almost 3,000 years or something. The oldest, representation of that we've seen is snake eating
Hmm.
itself. We're talking like, 3,000 years, but then the
Right.
word
Wow.
itself is Greek because the Greeks picked it up from the Egyptians, and then that's how the word got in. They named it that or whatever. And then it came over to English, but yeah.
Yeah. Sounds like snakes have been around for a really long time. All right.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you'd say they're in the Bible. Someone would even point out. So yeah,
Yeah.
a really long time.
Yeah. This episode was directed by Joel Nova. He also did some directing on episode one, where they filmed in Puerto Rico, and the
Yeah.
upcoming episode 10 later on.
Mhm.
Yeah. So, yeah, if you guys missed that first episode, he talked about Kicks Get Chicks and Match Point, I believe were his episodes of season four,
Mhm.
five. Oh gosh, four and five. Wait,
No,
five.
that would be four.
He's
Season
okay.
four is Kicks Get Chicks in
Is he
match.
was he in season four? Because I remember him cutting the promo for the interview, and he kept on having like a tongue twister, and had to. I think Kicks Get Chicks was his also, so maybe he did go back as far as season four.
Um,
Because
yeah,
the
hold on.
directors, I
Yeah.
didn't start directing or interviewing since
You're right.
last
Yeah,
season.
I'm looking them up. Yeah,
Okay,
see,
cool.
Match Point Kicks Get Chicks. You got it
Okay.
exactly right.
All right, perfect. All right, so as always, we have a synopsis here written by Amy. So thank you. Appreciate you sending that over. She writes, "We meet Sensei Kim, fresh off the plane with her team of Sensei assassins and her spaghetti Western soundtrack." Which, by the way, that song has become such an earworm over, ever since its release from Zach Robinson, one of the composers on Twitter, I believe, right? Or was it just a link he shared? I kind of forget. It was probably like a link that he shared on Twitter that we were able to listen to. But anyway, it's I've never done a ranking, but I feel definitely top 10 of all the songs.
We'll talk about it during the scene, since it's the
Okay,
first
okay,
scene, because
okay.
I wrote a note on it. So,
Okay, all right. She continues. She is both an open book and a total enigma, brought in by Terry Silver for his next phase of attempted world domination. She is expecting to see Kreese, but quickly adjusts to Terry being in charge. They're ready for the hostile takeover of Valley Dojos and putting kids, including to Johnny's horror, Devin, against each other in torturous training exercises. Kreese still has Tori doing undercover work for him in spite of her skepticism about it all. She is unsettled by the attack on Daniel. Kreese is not. He also thinks he's getting out soon. After finding out that his therapist hasn't bought into his attempt at manipulation, he regroups and tries again, ultimately finding himself in a therapy session where he confronts various demons, including an imagined version of a deeply sad teenage Johnny Lawrence. Over at the LaRussos, Team Daniel are sitting around the breakfast table discussing strategy when actual Daniel surprises them by being upright, fully dressed, and ready for work. He's letting Terry win. He's out of the fight. He wants no more part of it. But that doesn't fly with his four protectors because their eyes have been opened and they now understand things Daniel doesn't. They're not going to back down even if they have varying opinions on how to approach things. Johnny and Chozen's what? Oh, caveman plan. Okay. I
caveman
was like,
plan. Oh,
I was like, they're caveman. Who's their caveman?
it's an editorial comment about their plan.
If
Yeah,
if I just read the next line,
yeah.
caveman plan to just give Terry a beatdown doesn't work out the way they think it will. They discover it's not that easy, and where Chosen had previously taken down six of Terry's men single-handedly, the two of them together can barely take on one of Kim's. Team Daniel realized they can't do this without him via his own metaphorical therapy session, a counter to Kreese's. He gets guidance from Mr. Miyagi, Robbie, his family, and his students, and Team Daniel is back on track. Thank you, Amy, for that. Appreciate that. Definitely nailed every single point. So,
Mhm.
just let me start off by saying this. What did you think of this episode?
You know what? I have to issue an apology to this episode, which sounds
Ooh,
strange, but
it kind
I,
of
re-
does, yes.
I made a video recently, and I was just talking about season five, and I was going to introduce it as a series, and I was like talking about season five, and I quickly tried to like put out the different episodes, the good ones and the bad ones.
Okay.
And for this one, I put it like I had up arrows and down arrows, like for the ones that weren't as popular.
Ah,
And for this one, I put an equal sign. And like part of it is like I wanted to have like one episode as the equal sign, and like I was just like thinking, and I picked this one. I was like, and someone made a comment, "Why is episode six great?" And I thought, you know what, you're right. Episode six is really good. I shouldn't have made it an equal. This is definitely one of the better. If some people think it's one of the best, episodes of the season, but I was harsh on this episode. Um, on that video, so I made it an equal. So, but no, it is a really good episode.
It really is. I was almost thinking that this one doesn't get talked about enough, which I think is
Exactly. That's it.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
why I made it the equal sign because just jump in because like I thought
Okay,
when I think of what I like about season 5, I think of the finale. I think of the
okay.
midpoint. I think of like episode 2 and a lot of that Mexico stuff. Like this episode isn't in my recall but when I watch it, oh yeah, it's really, really good. But like it's just not in the recall. So that's why I made it the equal sign. But it is really good. It just doesn't get talked about.
Right. What does get talked about is some of the sequences, or the
Mhm,
jokes. Like people talk about those stuff, but
mhm.
they're not talking about the writing and the information you're learning from the dialogue. Like Michael is one of the, my favorite people to speak with because obviously his energy, but he's so like in tune with the story, and they all are, But like I feel like I find out so much from Michael as well, even from like other people's episodes, that he doesn't write, because I feel that they all do talk to one another, try to get some ideas or whatnot if
Mhm.
they're kind of having a writer's block. But yeah, I think like if you really listen to the dialogue or read the captions or subtitles, it's a lot more dense than people give it credit for. So scenes get talked about. This entire episode, I feel probably does not get enough love or recognition. But yeah, definitely one of my favorites. And I would hate to rank this season in terms of like the episodes.
Mhm.
That's why I say like it's just one movie.
Yeah, right.
This is Act 5 at this
I
point.
think, yeah, I think it maybe gets overlooked a little because of its position in this season. Like
Okay.
episode 6 is always going to be like that episode. Like, wait, like because you got the mid-season climax, right? And then you got, of course, the finale, whatever you're going to have at the end. Those are good, like the big moments, and then the beginning, like that episode 6 where you're starting the back half is like always going to be like just as you're thinking back through a season the one you did the one that skips over your head, that you forget about. And I think that's what's going on here. So when you watch this episode, it's really good. But then when you sit there and you think back of season 5, for some reason, like you aren't just thinking of this as much.
Right, right. So let's get into it. And you can give your thoughts on the song here. We're at the airfield. It doesn't
Mm-hmm.
appear to be an actual airport, like a private airfield. Terry Silver arrives in a stretched limo and welcomes Sensei Kim and the Fist. Sensei Kim Da-Eun. So I'm still hearing you know Da-Eun, and also Terry calls her Da-Eun. I think,
Dayun, I
right?
think,
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
hearing a
I
Y
haven't
in there.
replayed it. Yeah.
So for those that follow me on Twitter and Instagram, in case you missed it, I shared a clip, might have been like 4 or 5 minutes, or something, but basically, it might have been shorter than that. But I have a friend from that was born in South Korea. He now lives in Northern Washington. But anyway, I had invited him on to a brief Zoom just so I can get him to kind of um, help us pronounce Kim Da-eun based off of like just the spelling of it, because this is before we actually heard it pronounced. This is before the Terry Silver clip, before season 5 came out. But anyway, yeah, he said Da-eun, and when I interviewed
Dayun.
Alicia, um, I'm sorry, God, I'm kind of mistaken
Lucia
now.
Hannah Kim, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Isn't that it?
yeah. Yes, and she pronounced it that way as well. But yeah, Terry Silver says it differently. And he's the only one that says it, and it's just the one time, I believe.
Yeah, I think
If
it's only her full name is only said literally that one time. So I don't know. I kept thinking Alicia Hennekim should just like post a video. Oh, this is how you say your name. Like this, like that would have helped. But
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
I find myself just saying Sensei Kim most of the time. So
So do I. So do I.
yeah,
I don't want to have anyone question me. Just, it's
yeah.
just. But it is interesting though. Like so, I wonder where they got their pronunciation from. All right. So your thoughts on that song?
Well, on this, the scene is cool. Like it's a great intro to this new character that they're coming in. As far as the song, Once Upon a Time in the Valley, I don't like it. I find I like when I'm driving and I pull up my music, I don't listen to this one as much. And I even noticed that even before the season came out, compared to a Karate Time last season 4.
Oh, I love Karate Time.
It's yeah. Like I liked
Yeah.
Karate Time
Okay.
more.
Oh, okay. Okay. I
Yeah,
see.
that's what I'm saying. Like I liked season 4, more than I really liked the soundtrack in season 3, which for what it's worth, I think is still the best of the
Oh,
series so
okay.
far.
Okay.
But yeah, this one, I think it just isn't vibing with me because like the song, it's of course it's well made. It fits into like the way it's flowing and Terry Silver walks out, but like these Western vibes, I don't get it. Like it doesn't click for me.
Mm.
Why is she like getting these Western vibes, which by the way, we don't get anywhere else in the season. Like it's like done here. And then like, what does it have to do with like the airport and in the title? Once Upon a Time in the Valley. What does that have to do with anything?
I don't know. That's a
I
good
keep
question.
thinking, I imagine Zach and Leo, like they're trying to think of what should we call it? Once Upon a Time at the airport. No, no. Once Upon a Time on the tarmac. No. Once Upon a Time in the Valley. Yes. I don't get it. Like, I don't
Yeah.
get it. I
I
like my
wonder.
things to make sense to me.
Sure, sure, sure. No, I think everybody wants things to make sense. And maybe that was like a direction that they were given. Hey, something kind of Western, where
It
the
could have. I
hero.
think Hayden likes that stuff.
Oh, I
Um,
bet.
because we know Martin Cove does,
Oh,
and
sure.
yeah, and I think
He
Hayden's
was
reading
in Once a
that.
Time in Hollywood,
Right,
in a
yeah,
Western
Mm,
sequence with
yeah.
Leo. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, maybe it was just described like, this man, the hero of his own town in his own mind welcomes, some more, well, like a new posse, right? Or something. I don't know, man. I'm not good with words, especially not like the TV3 and their uses of them. Um, but anyway, I like it. And, again, for those that follow me on, social media, I think maybe it was only on Instagram. I don't remember if I put it on Twitter, but I really tried the Cherry Silver challenge where, it's just like me walking out of the car, door open and cutting it,
Oh,
kind of in a similar
to the music, and
yeah, to the music as well. So, and then I tried tagging John Horowitz to do it next, and then that's kind of just where it ended. I'm like,
then
okay,
it ended.
yeah, but like that's a lot to like ask people to do like for a challenge, because most people just like film, save and then upload. Like I'm asking people to cut it, edit it, like how Terry Silver's walking out of
Yeah.
his limo. So
Plus,
yeah,
you're always gonna get compared to the original, so
sure.
like it's hard.
Okay, let's see here. So some things that we learned, obviously this fight was last minute, because we're going to find out later that after, Terry Silver, beat up Daniel, it had
That's my
been
other
about a week.
question about this scene. Yeah, it's been a week, but go back to episode 3 when he's like, I have some other friends, who can help out. Like, it seems like it was in episode 3 when he mentioned it, and it's not until
Hmm.
episode 6 that she shows up. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. It could still be like a total of 2 weeks, right? And
Yeah,
yeah, I guess, yeah, it's not very last minute then, is it? If it's
yeah,
been like 2 weeks, because that's pretty much planned at that point.
yeah. Last
Um,
minute was Chosen's flight apparently, which was like,
right. Yeah.
but
So, so,
yeah,
so last minute, he didn't get a sequence of him arriving. And again,
yeah.
when you're gasoline, you don't need it. Uh,
He was.
oh, that was the other kind of bit of news, but that's more for Cobra Kai Companion. For, you know, the people that would like to support Cobra Kai Companion and are looking for like, merch, t-shirts, mugs, tumblers, what have you. We have it all on Threadless, but a work in progress right now by Alondra, who designed, the last couple of designs as well on the website. She's working on what I'm calling the Okinawan Assassin. And watch party, you got a
Ooh,
glimpse at the work in
I
progress. What
did.
did you think?
That looks really cool.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Thank you. So I'll pass that on to her.
No,
It's,
no, yeah.
yeah, she's doing all the hard work. So, how I do this is basically like I say, hey, so this is the idea for this design. This is what I want. These are like 5 examples of the idea I'm going for. And then she starts like putting these ideas together, and then from then on I start giving her instructions. All right, change this, change that. Let's try looking at this instead. Let's add
Mhm.
this. Let's delete that. How about, I'm giving her all the directions, and she's applying all the talent, and I think it's coming along great, and I'm really really excited about it. So yeah, for anyone that wants a chosen design, um there's a link in the show notes, but it is on our Threadless store where some of our old designs are still there as well. So just
Mhm.
to throw something out there. Okay, so she is also Sensei Kim, that is, she's not. Oh, she's disappointed that Kreese isn't present.
It's about
And
the first
so
thing she says off the plane too. So,
I'm sorry, you said it's not, or it is?
no, it is. It is. It's
Right,
like
right.
the yeah.
It is basically the first thing that she kind of mentions, and
Mhm.
this is interesting because she also says that his offer, 50% and all this stuff,
Mhm.
but she didn't come for money, and he continues like about her grandfather's legacy and stuff like that. What do you think that she was? What did she come for?
Um, she came for obviously, or obvious to me anyway, that he's talking about legacy. That it is to take the way of the fist, which is kind of how she refers to it. She doesn't say Cobra Kai,
Right,
she's the
right.
way of the fist, which is her grandfather's, in wants to expand it across the world. And I think that is, Silver's pitch here, setting up the back half of the season here, essentially. So,
Oh, interesting. So I thought you would at least mention like possibly Crease. I mean, we don't know that for sure, but I feel like it's implied here. Just the fact that that's kind of like the first mention, because obviously uh Terry Silver reached out to her. I'm assuming he didn't mention anything about Crease because she's asking. I'm a little
yeah,
disappointed
and
since Crease isn't here.
she didn't ask, right. But
Right.
apparently she assumed, and since it was last minute, she didn't have time to ask. But yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So we're gonna get more, I guess, kind of more info a little bit later in another episode. Let's see. And basically, he wants her to kind of, he wants her to help him assess like his students, right? To kind of see who can go to the next level, kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, Now, 50%, obviously that's a nod to Mike Barnes's negotiation from the third movie. Do you
Yeah.
think that's just kind of like his standard now too, or is it's just more of a callback?
I think it's a little bit of both.
Okay.
Like he jumped straight to the highest. I don't even think she negotiated that. He just said, "I'll give you 50%." Um, so it's like his just like, because for him it's not about the money anyway.
Right, right. He doesn't
So
need it.
yeah. So for him, he doesn't care. He just wants, he doesn't want to give her a reason to say no. So
Right. Yeah, because we're also going to find out later that at least in one dojo that he takes over, he's reducing dues,
yeah.
and if he's doing that, he wants to compile all of the students in the valley and try to weave out like the strongest of fighters or what have you for what he has in mind. So
Mhm.
a lot of interesting things here. What would you think about the fist?
Oh, they look cool.
Yeah,
Definitely. uh, you know, Sensei's from her school back in South Korea, I guess. So, but yeah, they look cool. Um, and yeah.
yeah.
So
So, couple MMA fighters. We also have two other stunt performers.
yeah,
Yeah,
Tyrone Woodley is Sensei Odell.
right.
Um,
Wonder Boy. Um,
yeah, and
I don't
Wonder
remember
Boy,
his real
but
name.
he's only in like the one shot like later in the episode. For like, I don't even think he's in the airport scene. But
He's gosh, now you got me wondering. But I do know. two members of the Fist are also, I believe, stunt doubles for both Yuji and Ralph.
Yeah, I'm certain. Yeah, that would.
Yeah.
I'm sure the rest are
Yeah.
from stunt teams. Yeah. Mhm.
Okay, so we go to the LaRussos, and as Amy calls them, Team Daniel. I think that's easier because I actually wrote out all their names. Team Daniel, are at the table, kitchen table, as Daniel comes downstairs and he's wearing a suit. This immediately, made me think about, the end of Back to the Future. Does that ring a bell to you at all?
The first one when
Yeah, the
his
first
brother's
one.
wearing a suit, right?
Exactly. And
Yeah,
he's like, "Hey, what are you wearing, Dave?" Marty, I always wear a suit to the
suit to
office."
the office.
Yeah, and because Daniels tells Amanda that, he wears a suit when goes to LaRusso's or something like that. I'm paraphrasing, but I'm just like, same vibes. I've been seeing it all over every episode. Flux capacitor in one episode, and episode 10, we're gonna get a hey, get your damn hands off him. So
Mhm.
a lot of similarities. I've been seeing it since season one too. Even season four. I probably mentioned it in that episode where Robbie follows Johnny to the dojo. It's just like Lorraine following Marty to. Anyway, that's enough. Um, let's see. Yeah. Well, what are your notes here?
Let's see. What do I? Johnny wants the action, right? So Johnny's looking to just get into the fighting, right? I think
That's
from
it.
the beginning that's his thing. But Chosen is like, no, let Daniel rest. I liked when Johnny said to Daniel, make Silver pay for what he did to you.
Yeah.
Um, so that's like that moment between them. Like now Silver's got to pay. Um,
Yeah. It because of their was it last episode, right? Where
mhm.
Daniel tried to provoke him into a fight, and then they had like that talk, and now it's an understanding. And Johnny's already gotten beat up by Silver before, so he knows what it is, and so the both of them got beat by Silver. Now Silver's got to pay, because him and Daniel have become friends.
Right.
So
And so in regards to Daniel, cause he says not our job to fight the monsters of the world, not anymore. And he's citing Mr. Miyagi here, but I think, he was citing Mr. Miyagi incorrectly. I think Daniel's state of mind is kind of like making him take the wrong lessons. Cause it wasn't that like Miyagi didn't want people to get hurt if he could avoid it, but he wasn't going to just avoid a fight if it had to be fought or something, right? So,
yeah,
mhm.
yeah. 'Cause Johnny even is it Johnny? So because it does come up again later on in the episode as well.
Right,
Um,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So
This episode, it's really and as I was writing out my notes towards the end, I thought about this is a really a Daniel episode, and it's interesting because Daniel's only in like a couple scenes, like with two or three scenes at all, but it's really a Daniel episode, beginning, middle, and end. And what's interesting is, and here's like my idea of like the theme of this episode is I was thinking like, even for going back to season one, he was always talking about, well, now Daniel's in the Miyagi role as the sensei, right? Like Daniel was always taking the Miyagi role. That was kind of even the initial pitch of the series.
mhm.
And then of course he's also looking to Mr. Miyagi in his own life and applying that. And I was thinking like, um, so like Daniel is like the series is always Daniel taking the Miyagi role. And then in season one, it was him finding how to fill that without Miyagi himself. And now if in your head, you think of like Johnny Chozen, and we'll even throw in Amanda, like now are taking like the Daniel role and Daniel's in the Miyagi role. Like Daniel isn't there for them this episode. He's gone and they're trying to figure out what to do without Daniel. And it's
Yeah.
kind of like what
Oh,
Daniel was trying to figure out in season one without Mr. Miyagi. Like, so it's
right.
like he's taking the Miyagi role even as it was in season one now.
That's
Because
that's a good point. Yeah, because when you were talking about themes, I was thinking like also thematically, this episode's about not giving up. We're going to
right.
learn that
Mm-hmm.
about Devin, Daniel, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Chosen, and he says it again. Like, what was it? was it the last episode where he was watching 90 Day Fiance, or was that
Oh,
episode
never give up.
four?
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, he said never give up, and then he says it again here to Daniel.
Hmm.
So and then he's gonna say it again. Wait, does he say it again in episode 9? I don't. We'll
Uh,
get there. We'll
yeah,
get there,
we'll get
obviously.
there.
Right, all right. So yeah, Daniel says he doesn't want to do karate anymore, and even Amanda says, she insists that they're all with him, that he doesn't
Mhm.
have to stop. And nice little Easter egg here. He puts on his sunglasses to cover that black eye like the first movie.
It's one of the better ones of the season. Enjoyable in it.
Yeah, and it was and it was I don't want to say like organic as if like the previous ones or like many of them are not. Like this one was pretty organic, you
It
know.
just felt right. Yeah, it was
Right,
just like the
yeah.
perfect moment. Yeah.
Exactly. I feel like I feel they gave Nate like something like that too in season 3. I think he had sunglasses on, I feel. From getting jumped by Hawk.
I
I
think
might
he
be
did.
making that
Yeah.
up. Okay, okay. All right. Let's see. We go to visit Kreese in prison. Tori is there and finally confirmed she's his granddaughter and he's her grandfather.
Yes. Yes.
They,
Yes.
they they call each other that, It's
Yeah.
confirmed now. It's right there in
Hmm.
dialogue.
There you go. Confirmed.
Um,
Canon.
yeah, right. Yeah, this was really interesting. So, basically what they had planned, it didn't work out. Tori mentioned something about, Terry's basically focusing on expanding, Cobra Kai. And Kreese also senses at this point that, that there's something else that's on her mind, and she feels guilty. This is the way I read it, that Daniel had gotten hurt in the process. Even though they were trying to like lead him to the, Terry
To
Silver, or
Stingray.
it
It
was
was
the
Stingray.
Stingray that he
Yeah,
was
like
on.
that
Yeah,
was like the plot. And like I actually sat there and tried to figure out, well, what actually was the plot? Like she leaves that. I think the hope was if I think the hope was is they get Daniel on Stingray's, trail, so to speak, and then maybe Silver will make a mistake. Either Silver or Stingray will make a mistake. But then like Tori says in the scene, like he didn't bat an eye. He's just focused on, expanding the dojo. So it's like they were trying to throw Silver off his game. Like he may get found out, but like Silver didn't bat an eye. So that
right,
was
right.
yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah. Because if Daniel's there, he might stir something up, and it just didn't go
Mhm.
the way that they had hoped.
Right.
But this is just another example that Kreese is willing to sacrifice someone for his own gain, right? So and then he also asked Tori that she just needs to stay a little bit longer. So in this dialogue, it's kind of implied. It's pretty much implied that yeah, Tori does not want to continue doing this because Kreese is asking her to just wait it out a little bit longer.
Right. Yeah, she doesn't.
Yeah,
And this is where we learned, when Robbie broke up with her in episode 4, why she didn't stay or why she didn't leave Cobra Kai when he wanted her to.
right,
Because she's doing it out of loyalty to Kreese.
correct. Yep, her grandfather.
Yeah, grandpa.
All right.
Yeah. Which I guess, that Allie is Kreese's daughter. I guess
Oh, oh yeah,
that would
yeah.
make sense.
Are
Yeah.
you late on that? Are you late on that one?
Oh,
I thought
yeah, I guess. Yeah.
I
I
thought
thought
we
that was
learned that in
revealed two
season
seasons ago. And yeah.
2 or 3, whatever. Um, okay, let's see here. Topanga Karate. This is where we see Devin doing some kicking exercises. This
Mhm.
seems to be run by a Sensei Rosenthal that we're going to find
Mhm.
out.
Mhm.
And I found this interesting because it appears that Sensei Rosenthal has to remind her that we're all friends here. So, I mean, we know her to be a bit of a little firecracker, as I call her. Or
Mhm.
has Johnny hasn't called her that, has he? Am I making that up?
I don't
Is
specifically remember
does
the term firecracker.
Okay, so I might
Um,
have said that. Okay, so that's how I perceive her, and it seems that she's still that way. So I like
yeah,
that.
she was an eagle thing. You don't just, you can change the color of the gi, but the eagle still bites,
Right,
so.
right, absolutely, yeah, so to speak. And if we remember her reverse hazing, where she had to kick
Oh,
kick all the guys in the nuts.
reverse hazing. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what else you call it. I mean, it's her first exercise, I guess,
Yeah.
as a official Eagle fan. So, and she's like, "Oh, come on, I didn't even kick it that hard." So I thought that's pretty funny. Um, obviously, wait. We did we already know that she had been in two different dojos? We did, right? I think we've seen images of her in blue and black. I
Well,
feel
we
like
saw it
you,
in the trailer, but this is the first
right.
time in the show we're seeing her
Right, correct.
with,
Because we saw her at
yeah.
the water park, but I feel in one of your live streams that was talked about as well. Like okay, she's wearing blue and also black, and both times are in a dojo. But is this the same dojo? And this is where you were doing all your investigative
We were
work and
doing, yeah. And,
yeah, the flags and all that stuff in the background and whatnot,
mhm.
the designs on the walls. Yeah, so yeah, after Eagle Fang closed down, she joins Topanga. We do not see Xander. We don't
Xander,
see
yeah,
Xander.
Xander.
Xander
We don't
Stone.
see Xander, yeah,
Yeah,
or
graduated
like anyone
probably.
else, or like the sensei who was there before. Like it's different people. So
Well, according to Silver, I don't know if it's the same sequence. I feel like it is. He mentions how what is it, the last couple of years or something, Topanga's been losing left and right. I might be
right, yeah, this is it. That is in the scene, yeah, later in
okay.
the scene, and I don't even think that's true because it was literally just 2 years ago. Xander won the
At
whole
least two
thing.
tournaments ago, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, this is just a little bit after the previous one. So it would be like just a little over 2 years ago now.
Right.
In show time. Um,
Um, this is one of my favorite things here because like in my mind, like this is like 1947 and Terry Silver is like a gangster. He walks into this dojo and basically is like, "All right, you guys are all getting new senseis," and I'm like, reducing fees or whatever, and everyone's excited as if like they pay for the fees themselves. I'm sure their parents do, but anyway,
yeah.
uh, Cesar Rosenthal is like, Terry, you're replacing me? Like he doesn't answer as if like, look, I said what I said. Like
Yeah, he
he
just
doesn't.
turns
Yeah, he
aside.
just
Yeah.
turns away. So I love that. It was one of my favorite moments of him. So what do you think about Silver making Rosenthal like basically an offer he couldn't refuse and all this stuff? I feel the kids, I mean, Terry Silver makes a pretty good pitch, and the kids like they buy into it pretty easily, right? I mean, he talks about Tori and I'm sure most of them were probably at the tournament, and so they saw her win and stuff like that, right? Everyone wants to be
Yeah.
with a winner.
Yeah. They were probably at the tournament. Which, couldn't have 2 months ago or so, give or take.
Yeah.
For Showtime, a month, 2 months ago. So yeah, it was just recent, and yeah, he does make a good pitch, and I get like the business. It makes sense for Terry. He wants to expand. It's quicker and easier just to buy out everyone else than to try and open new dojos and recruit students from the ground up. So,
Yeah. Well, I
uh,
mean, reducing fees. I think anybody would be like, oh, wait, so you'll be staying at the same dojo. You'll have different senseis, perhaps,
mhm,
and now it's just under a different name. Okay. Well,
yeah,
what's wrong with that?
yeah,
Because I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I bet you some of those parents like they just see this as like babysitter, right? Like, okay, well, I work these hours, or like, hey, I want to go out around this time. I'll just drop the kid off at the karate.
the karate, yeah, yeah.
You know.
You could have a comedy moment in there where Sensei Kim is lower fees. What? I got 50% of this.
You said 50%. Actually, reducing fees. What's that
50%.
going to
Now
give
you
me?
charge less money.
Fist, let's go. You know, uh, so let's see here. I think that's all the notes I have, except for Sensei Kim. She does want Tori to stay because
Mhm.
she is the champion, and basically she wants to see what she's all about. And I kind of get that from her standpoint too. This is kind of just stuff I'm not projecting, but like I'm just kind of like I think that's what it is, right? I mean, because Silver doesn't like instruct her to keep Tori or anything. He said that, leave it up to your autonomy, in the
Mhm.
previous sequence with them.
Mhm.
She can do whatever she wants. And so
Mhm.
I get that too. Like I mean, she's coming from a completely different country, and yeah, the
Mhm.
styles are, the roots is from the same person and
Mhm.
whatnot. But, you call her a champion, but let me see if she is, a champion in my definition of one. So
Right.
I kind of like that too. And so I think, there's no dialogue there, but I feel that you can kind of pick up on that but by that, right? I don't know,
Mm.
in context. I don't know. You tell
No,
me,
it
did
is. Yeah.
you think that?
I
Okay.
think from the beginning, she was skeptical. Do you believe your American students are up to the challenge?
Right.
Which is what she says on the tarmac.
Right. The,
Um,
the, the, the,
which, which she
the
said once
song,
upon
right?
a time on the
You're
tarmac.
by the
She said,
tarmac. Exactly.
But,
See, that was a layup to you there.
yeah.
Uh, all right. Let's see here. We go back to the LaRussos, and Johnny is livid that Daniel would rather let Terry Silver win, to rather than no be there, which is a lesson that he learned in season 4.
Hmm.
Kind of brief, I think, this episode, if I'm not, or this scene, if I'm not mistaken. Sam does show them an Instagram live of Terry, because Johnny's like, When was that?" She's like, "Right now."
Yeah. He was leaving and then he came back for the Instagram live, apparently. So,
Right. Uh, I wonder who's filming it. Do you think it's Sensei Rosenthal? Like he's standing there, like that's his last duty as Sensei.
I
You
wonder,
know,
maybe Tori's filming it.
it could be. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It'd be funny though
I
if it
don't
was
think
Rosenthal.
she's in I don't think she's in that shot. So yeah, maybe Tori's the one.
Let's see. This is also one of my favorite moments of Amanda. Where because Johnny's basically like he's like, oh, I'm gonna go down there and whatever, and
Mhm.
Amanda said something like, "This isn't a job for like a one-man army or something," and as like Chosen, you knock some sense into him. And he's like, "Yeah, yeah, she's right. One person's not enough. But I'll go with you." She's like, "Not what I meant." Yeah, it was just a great delivery.
Yeah, that's not what I meant. Yeah.
Let's see. Kind of brief that. Oh, were you surprised that Johnny didn't know height means yes, or like agreeing and
Johnny, it, no. I mean, yeah,
you're
that
not
like
surprised? Okay,
he doesn't know. Although, like, he's even in as an instructor given, commands and instructions, um, like in like Korean, I think he says something in Korean back in season 1 and
um,
stuff like, and like, yeah, in season 1 where he's correcting like Miguel, like your karate school is called a dojo. Like you would think like it was set up and then he knows something, but sometimes for comedy, you know,
well,
Johnny doesn't
absolutely.
know. Yeah.
I do wonder if there was any kind of like a debate whether he should be like that means yes, right? Or wait, how does he ask? Well, I mean, so he has an
Is that
idea,
a
but he's
yes?
not
Yeah. Like,
positive.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Right.
He's not positive. So maybe he had an idea, but just wasn't sure and hadn't heard that for a while. I guess I'm not sure.
Yeah. Johnny's on
Uh,
his knowledge is on a sliding scale depending on the comedic desires of the scene.
sure. And this is what we would kind of call
Yeah.
this is borderline peak Johnny right here. It's like, well,
Borderline, not quite
yeah,
there, but yeah,
not
but
not quite there. Yeah. Okay, so we go back to the prison and it's lunchtime. Kreese finds somewhere to sit and is immediately greeted by Gabriel, aka
Mhm.
the J-Lo man, played by Owen Harns, who I interviewed, and he calls himself the J-Lo man.
J-Lo, man.
You see what he did there? Because he's in jail, also Jello.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's very clever.
Just in case it went over your head. Which, by the way, if you guys missed that episode, it's one of the funnier ones because like you don't expect. Owen is pretty funny. He is pretty funny, and he does a pretty spot on Martin Cove impersonation as well. I think so.
Yeah, he's got more talents than you would realize just from
Yeah,
watching him
the
in this show.
cha-cha.
Yeah,
Like they want me to
yeah,
do the cha-cha.
yeah.
He says that. It's so funny.
Mhm.
Yeah, you guys just have to go check that one out.
Mhm.
It's also on YouTube. Um, so yeah, basically this guy is picking on Kreese just because he's old. He's
Sounds like it.
ageist. It
High
looks like
school
he's
never
ageist.
ends. The whole thing, like where Kreese is like looking for a seat to begin with, it's like the beginning when Miguel is looking for a seat, or you know, and
Kind
yeah,
of. Yeah, yeah.
picking on Kreese. He's the school bully, but now he's in jail, so he's the bully.
Yeah.
Picking
Yeah, yeah. He's just plain good soldier, right?
on-
Is what
Hmm.
he said he told Tori that he was going to do. I do like how he gets catcalled by Gabriel, and it's not really quite that whistle. It's more of like a whispery whistle. I don't know if you've heard it or recall.
I don't think I picked up on that. No.
Yeah, you'll
I
have
don't-
to go back and like kind of listen to that pitch. It's because listening to it a few times during work today because I wasn't able to like watch it.
Right.
I was just like, is that Gabriel whistling? Or because it doesn't quite, anyway, you just have to go back and listen to it. But I do like the sequence because
Hmm.
there's like a gentleman behind Kreese that kind
Hmm.
of like taps him on the shoulder as if like that a boy, for like because Owen Gabriel says, how about every week you give me, your Jello or something, and he's like, yeah, that sounds fine or whatever.
Hmm.
He's just going along with it. So,
Yeah.
so I I,
And it's
I like
crease
that.
in a very different way. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
is. And like,
Hmm.
there's another dude that sits down next to him and eats like a
Hmm.
biscuit or something. That guy
Hmm.
was pretty good. It seemed really natural, like he's done that before. They got him straight out of prison just for that scene, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know. Um, you got anything on this moment? I know it's kind of a short one.
Um, Nothing else. Yeah.
Okay.
But
Okay. Let's see. And then oh yeah, then it transitioned to speaking with the therapist because he's like, oh yeah, I'm getting along fine, great with all these people, but um, he does say that he's like enjoying these sessions or something, but basically implying that like they've definitely met more than once. Do you have a guess like how often they meet? At least once a week, you would say, a
yeah,
couple times a week?
at least once a week. If it's been 2 months, so yeah, maybe they've had once or twice a week. They've been doing it.
Yeah.
You know,
And I mean, obviously we already know kind of how this episode plays out, but do you think in this moment she's already like onto him, like she's never really believed his bullshit?
yeah, I do. The funny thing is, I was thinking about that. Because if she didn't believe him, shouldn't she say, like, I'm not believing you? I don't know. It's like she keeps it a secret and lets him to continue to bullshit her. But
Yeah.
if she's a therapist, shouldn't she say, like, or let's work past that or something? I don't know.
That's a good point because like she's kind of leading him on, right? Which could also
Right.
be bad, I feel. Now that you
Yeah.
mention it, because
Yeah.
it's a way of like kind of provoking him to do something bad, to
Hmm.
call his bluff, so to speak.
Hmm.
I don't know. Yeah, that's interesting. This is one of those things where like I wish I had spoken with Michael before, but he's got 3 episodes this season. So, and also he's show running Twisted Metal for those that missed that news, which we'll, be covering on this, the what will eventually become the companion podcast network. After we're
Hmm.
done with the season 5 reviews here. 4 more episodes after this one. I was just
Hmm.
counting earlier. I can do that. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I was like, oh man, we're almost there. But anyway, yeah, some things to look forward to. But yeah, I definitely have some questions for Michael about this episode. Um, and it's kind of funny how like Kreese also mentioned something like, "Oh, you could throw me through like glass, and I won't
A
even have a
glass,
scratch on
right?
me."
Yeah.
It goes like, "Okay,
It's a
well, we
little
saw that in
reference.
season 3, and
Yeah.
you were bloodied, but yeah, you definitely were not scratched up. That's correct." Um, no inside
See,
joke there.
I said this is peak Crease in a way. Like we
Okay,
talked about
okay,
peak Johnny, but
yeah,
this is
yeah.
peak Crease. Everything he's saying, it's to manipulate to the exact thing he wants and then
Right, yeah, just like Amy
throw me
said, yeah,
through
yeah.
glass. Yeah. Hmm.
Exactly. That's very interesting now because like it was harder to read in season 2, right? Because we saw him at the end of season 1 and
Hmm.
season 2, just like Johnny, we're trying to figure this guy out. Is
Hmm.
like the I think it was that second 202 where at the end where Johnny yeah plays right into his plan and then we see that smirk come back. I feel so, but now having seen all of that stuff, even though we know he didn't beat up Stingray, we still know that Kreese is bad. And it's kind of funny, kind of seeing it, with context and kind of understanding. Yeah, this guy's just, walking the walk right now.
Hmm. Right.
Uh, we where are we at? So therapist, back at the Panga karate. Sensei Kim is instructing the class in some exercises. This is when Tori sees Devin by herself and walks up to her.
Mhm.
Um, let's see. This is before the story as well, right? Or is this also the same where Sensei Kim gives a story of her own students um back where she's from?
I think this is yeah, this is the beginning of the story, right? She talks about that they climbed the mountain.
That
Or no,
might be later.
maybe that's
That
later. Yeah.
yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Because we have a
Okay,
moment
yeah.
here with these two first. Yeah, so this is actually where this is interesting because they both have and had sick mothers, right? So they found something in common.
Hmm.
And we find out from Devin that her mother, she has a saying that kind of goes, the only way you lose is when you give up. And we find
Hmm.
out that her mother, passed away from cancer. And Tori, having a sick mother who understands, what that's like and going through it, she kind of changes her tone a little bit, and
Hmm.
I think Devin can kind of sense that. And she was able to kind of help Devin out the way we saw Robbie with Kenny in season 4.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it is. I I don't see it as much as like a mentor, like the way Robbie and Kenny. I just feel like it's more of like a
Yes.
bonding of equals, or in a
Okay.
way. I mean,
Okay.
even though like Tori's the teacher here, the instructor, but like this moment of their mothers or something, it's something to sort of bond and a connection between them, that they have, and they realize, but they also don't want, neither of them wants to talk about it too much, right? Like they kind of change the subject and then go back, but yeah, I
Yeah.
feel like it's more like a just like a bonding between them. I do like it though. This is my for me, like Devin, now it's been one full season for her. Like this is where I kind of like feel like her character's really kind of developed a little bit. I really like it. Um,
Yeah. I mean, obviously we're getting a little bit more,
mhm.
well, definitely more of a backstory for sure.
Yeah.
Just kind of finding out what it might be like at home and perhaps, that's the aggressive side of her, right? Is that knowing that her mother was sick. We don't know how long ago. It seems pretty fresh, but I don't think it was like, this past school year. Maybe it was. We don't know, right? But fresh enough that it's still on her mind that she was almost about to talk about her mom in the present tense.
Mhm.
So, but yeah, maybe that's where the aggression comes from. Losing the mother,
Yeah. I mean, a
perhaps.
little bit. Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, but yeah, kind of to what you're saying. Yeah, you're right. Not necessarily like Kenny and Robbie because Tori was told to do this, basically. She
Right.
just happens to see Devin by herself, whereas Robbie took Kenny under his wing because Kenny wanted to learn karate, but then, like, well, Robbie ended up teaching him because he knew his brother Sean,
Hmm.
which
Right.
in hindsight, maybe Sean should have been one of the options for, like, if we see Terry Silver in prison in season 6, like, who, would you want to see him cross paths with? You think Sean could have been a good one? I mean, honestly, Gabriel's not
Mm.
getting as much love as I thought he was going to get. I just want to see Gabriel like steal Terry Silver's cello.
Yeah. It starts all over again
Yeah,
with Terry Silver.
basically. Yeah, like he just can't catch a break. He just keeps messing with the wrong
And since
guy.
Kreese is gone, he's called Sensei Gabriel now.
Right, right.
I'm the sensei now.
We'll Kreese is gone and Silver is there, and then we see Gabriel. He's got long hair. After he gets beat up by Silver, the next time we see him, he's got it in a ponytail.
That
Like, yes,
would be
Sensei.
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh man, he's kind of an underrated character in my opinion, but I a little biased because of the interview. So I know what his personality is like in real life. So
Mhm.
I'm like, man, I should use more Gabriel. I think other people are kind of like, who's that guy? The JLo. And
Yeah.
they have to think about it, I'm sure. But also, for those that didn't check out that interview, Owen mentioned that I don't remember if it's like the character in general, but at least the introduction of Gabriel, kind of taking Kreese's Jello, it was written, in a different way, and Owen approached it as more playful, and that's why hey, Sensei, so I think it was supposed to be a
Mhm.
little bit more menacing.
Mm.
So I do like the way he does it, it's just like a cat playing with the mouse, right? Like, it's a prey. So.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Right.
he's ageist for sure. Okay. Let's see here. let's go to Johnny and Chozen. They
Mhm.
are walking through the parking lot and they have a dojo measuring contest by trading war stories about Daniel. Now this one was interesting because it kind of escalates a little bit, right? Like it's first it's about the things that they've done to Daniel,
Mhm.
and I think Johnny felt like Chosen was kind of one upping him. So when Chosen says like I fought him to the death, and Johnny says something like, "What are you, a
What are you, a
ghost?"
ghost? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly, right. So it shifts from like, yeah, well, I did this to Daniel, and it's like, oh man, it sounds pretty good. Oh, what are you, a ghost? And then they switch to like the good deeds that Daniel has done, right? Is
Yeah.
that
He
kind of
showed mercy, and then it's
yeah,
like, and now he's got to one up that. And it's like,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I saw him take down a whole hockey team, five of them, 105. And
Hmm.
I think one of my favorite things is you know, knowing how the season ends, where Chosen like the first comment he makes is like, "Oh yeah, robbed him on a date." So it's like, okay, well, that's because he was probably following them, you know. It's because we now we know, you know, he's got a bit of a thing for Kumiko, so that's what that was about. Because that's that sequence where Chosen finds him at the dance club. You know, one of my favorite lines, one of my favorite Chosen lines is maybe trouble looking for you. You know, it's just
Hmm.
like I've never heard anything like that ever since. You know, it's a pretty badass line.
Yeah.
What
But
do you got on this?
like I said, this is really a Daniel episode, even though
Right.
Daniel isn't in it a whole lot. And there you go. Like
Sure,
it's
talking
just
about
sort
him.
of the,
Yeah.
yeah. Hmm.
Yeah,
You
right,
know, and
right. Recapping the Karate Kid 1 and 2.
right. And
Yeah.
like I said, how like they're remembering all these things Daniel did, the sort of the way Daniel kind of remembers the things Mr. Miyagi did. So it's like I said, Daniel's kind of in that Miyagi role now, and he's in the Miyagi role of not being there. So, and what happens when he's not there? You know, they just sit around and talk about him, you know, and that's what's going on.
The other interesting thing is that we all saw you know, Daniel being ran off the road and down the hill, right? And in season
Mhm.
one, we find out that didn't Lucille say that pushed him down a hill or whatever? And then
Yeah.
Anthony was like, he said it was a cliff, right?
Right. Hmm.
Okay. And so here, Johnny remembers it the same way. I pushed him down a cliff. So they both use cliff. Isn't that interesting?
Uh, yeah. Yeah. Johnny remembers it. Johnny remembers it the more badass, I'm sure. So
Yeah, that's a
it
good
was
point
like,
too.
yeah,
Like a hill is not badass, right?
yeah.
So okay, see, so they're even more you know, more similar than well,
Than you would
we all
even
know they're
realize.
similar,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
exactly. Then they realized for sure, yeah. But for us, we all knew. But
Mhm.
this is just another one of those examples that they're both
Right.
gonna up. Like, yeah, no, it was a hill. Like, it was that bad. Like,
It's a cliff.
yeah, I like this exchange, and when we saw like the early footages from, was it May 8th or whatever at Live and Badass, like what they're gonna be? Actually, I don't even think did we see Chosen with Johnny yet?
Yeah, we
Because
saw him like walking away, right? Like, because we saw that shot of Johnny
right,
taking a swig,
but
looking
we
up
weren't
at the.
sure it was if it was Chosen
We weren't
because
sure. We just figured probably
at least
like
for me, I think it took me a while to even notice that character because
right because you're
it's
looking at
cut.
Johnny and the Cobra
Yeah,
Kai sign. Yeah.
because the sequence how it's played is you know, they're standing there and then Chosen starts to walk as Johnny's swigging. In the trailer, it's cut right after Chosen had already started walking. So to me, the first few times I thought it was just a passerby, you know, until
Right.
probably your live stream where you know you and your followers, your subscribers were talking about that character. I go, oh crap, is that, you know? And I know
Is that
people
chosen?
were some
Yeah.
people think, is that Dimitri? Is that Chosen maybe? And
Mhm.
so, you know, I've shared the story at least, I don't know, gosh, at least a couple episodes on this feed. But I had mentioned when my buddy and I went to go visit Yuji back in August, I think it was. I had shown him, I think it was August. I showed him the trailer and I said, a lot of us think that this is Chosen. And he looked at me, looked at the phone. It's like, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Oh man, he's so good. Yeah, he would even, yeah. I was just like, okay, all right, I see you. And this is where Johnny sees Devin. So I'm glad that they wrote that in because it's real brief, and I'm sure had he not said anything, we probably would have questioned like, oh, what, he didn't see Devin in there?
Right, right. Of course, Tori is his former student as well, but he didn't care about her. But
Good point. Well, yeah, because she served under, yeah, because she was one of the ones that wanted to stay there when Kreese took over. So I
right.
get that. Yeah. And the interesting thing is that Chosen says, "Hey, not now. We're not here for the student. We're here for the sensei. So we're gonna wait."
Mhm.
But they continue to stand there. So how long do you think they stood there before they entered later on? Do you
It
think they just
seems
hung
like
out
a
there?
while, right? Because they have a whole nother lesson to go through. Like they go get something to eat or something. Because Devin leaves too before they come in, and like it's she doesn't like walk by them, so it's not like they're hanging out at the door, apparently. So
You think they're doing the thing that like as the class is dismissed, Devin's walking out like Johnny turns around and starts whistling, looking at the ceiling. Chosen picks up a newspaper and covers his face or something like
she may not know
that.
Chosen, but she would know
Good
Johnny.
point.
So yeah.
That's a good point. That's a good point. Yeah. All right, so now we go to the flagship dojo where we see Kyler, Kenny, and Tori. And this is also where we see Devin joining Cobra Kai. So we're gonna find out. I think it's right
I,
here,
no,
where
I
right
think you
from
skipped.
Terry.
We're at prison now.
Where prison. He's in a
Crease in his
cell.
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 Yeah.
Okay. Cell receives a letter from the warden, and he finds out that a petition was made against his release. So it was rejected. And he thought that they were doing okay. Yeah, he does go see the therapist who's walking down the hall, and she basically tells him at this point what you kind of mentioned earlier, like maybe she should have said that during the sessions. It's like I don't believe what you've been saying.
Yeah, she's like, I've been doing this. I know when someone's working me or something. But yeah, I just if she didn't believe it, like I feel like shouldn't she have said something earlier, like rather
Yeah.
than waiting for the, this moment, like
The other thing is that she says something like, if you want to be released early, you have to understand why you're here.
mhm.
But but he's there for assaulting a man. He would actually get early release for understanding why he's there. But yeah, I'm sure she probably means like that's the first step, right? Like you have to understand why you're actually here, and we'll kind of go from
Yeah.
there
The,
because
the whole
she,
thing is a little interesting because, of course, we know Kreese didn't actually commit the crime he's
right,
actually there for. So the reason she thinks he's there, he didn't actually do. Um,
right,
but then he also says how he had a bad lawyer or something, which he's maintaining his innocence, which means he doesn't even, which from her perspective would mean he's not even accepting that he did what she's
right,
there.
right.
So like, it's like
Yes.
it's if you think about it a little bit deeper, it's like the the logic is a little questionable or whatever is going on. But it whatever. But then it all
Yeah.
also kind of makes sense because like even though Kreese didn't actually do that crime, he did the others. So
Yeah. And he's gonna have to face those demons later.
yeah, yeah.
Let's see. I think that's all I had for that. And we go back to Topanga. Sensei Kim, she is sharing a story about her students in Korea.
Mhm.
I do like the story because she basically leads by example. She mentioned that she trained among them.
Mhm.
And I
Mhm.
don't believe we've seen that from anyone else, right? Where they
Um,
actually, at least not among the students, right? Like she's doing what they're doing as well. Climbing
um,
and
well, let me
water and all that
think.
stuff.
I was trying to think if Daniel or Miyagi did that.
Because all of
Yeah,
those were like
her story
instructional.
reminded me of what when they did the Coyote Creek, um, like going out into the field and like
Okay.
training, like in the field one day or like in a in a
Nature,
whatever, yeah,
basically.
nature environment, right?
Okay,
So,
okay. Um, and now this the exercise that they have Tori and
mhm.
Devin do, uh Sensei Kim thinks that she goes a little little easy on Devin. Devin wins, in your face.
Mhm.
Kind of taunts her right there. Now, Tori gets hit with the stick a little bit later. Do you think the kids would tell their parents like this is what's going on at the new dojo or the new management?
Uh, I don't know because
I know
well, if
that
if you're asking specifically from the kids, because technically Tori's there as like a helping the instructor. Um,
yeah,
so like they're not thinking about it like that, although
because
they
know
hitting hard and such. Yeah.
sure
Mm.
yeah I mean this is I mean going to be an interesting conversation. Maybe not us per se, but just the idea of like, yeah, a sensei is hitting their student,
Mhm.
like with the discipline device, basically. And I know that like I have seen people kind of talk about that and how Sensei Kim's evil and all these things. And I've gotten like some comments in Lisa Kim's interview, Hannah Kim's interview um about her character too. So like yeah, some people felt some type of way for sure about the disciplining from Sensei Kim, and like I
But
know
I feel like it's so much Cobra Kai. I mean, Johnny threw Dimitri to the ground, and
right, yeah,
so
Kreese punched
yeah,
Dimitri in the face and
right, yeah. So I
choked out
mean,
Johnny.
it feels like it to me. It's part of the way of the fist. Um,
It's in their DNA,
yeah.
kind of.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay, fair. I think. I feel no, no, that's it. Is that it? Did
Is
you have
that
any other
it?
notes on that?
Oh, just I kept thinking like Tori's supposed to stop her, and I think why doesn't like there's a moment where when Devin fell back, I think why didn't Tori just pick up the stick and hold it herself, keep it away from
All
her?
right. Yeah.
Sorry,
That's before she runs
but
off, right?
yeah,
You talking about before
it's not as
Devin runs out?
exciting, but
Right, right.
but
Taunts her back, like in your face. Like, and I think that's what it is, right? It doesn't
mhm.
say Kim, like, I don't know if it's the sequence or a little bit later on where she says that she wants to test her heart or whatever. Like maybe they had overheard Devin talking about, cancer and her mother and all this stuff and wanted to see if that would soften Tori up, if she's able to do what she needs to do uh, like having heard bad news, showing the enemy mercy and things like that. That could be it too, kind of playing into that.
Yeah, and Sensei Kim definitely just pushes Tori hard because she's really unsure of Tori.
Right. I
So
mean, yeah, right. She's a champion, right? So
right,
let's see that heart of a champion.
right.
We got Kreese, no, yeah, Kreese is visiting the therapist. Now, she had mentioned previously that she was going to be available all day the following day, so this is probably that day.
Hmm.
And they're not speaking, and she explains that she is there to help him. And then we get a series of different people that Kreese has wronged. I'm not sure if I'm using the correct term. How else would you describe this sequence briefly?
I don't know if I would say people that he's wronged. It's a people from his life,
Okay.
more or less in chronological order, not entirely. But yeah, it's just sort of the different people who have impacted him or he's impacted in one way or another,
You don't
from his
think
life.
Captain David didn't have any influence or impact? Probably not much, huh?
Captain David?
Oh, the football captain wasn't that
Oh,
the Jesse
him.
Cove? Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh,
Sorry, yeah, you because Captain
that's
Turner. My
because
bad.
I
Yeah,
was
yeah.
thinking of Turner,
Football
and I'm like,
captain.
wait.
Sorry, football captain. I should have said that.
Yeah,
I was picturing
he
his
didn't make up.
jacket.
He wasn't there, but
Right,
obviously,
right, right,
then
right.
Betsy was.
Because I was trying to think some of the other people that he's come across that like I wonder if they considered him because this was a very interesting sequence and I mean obviously we'll get to young Johnny where I think I was laying down and nearly like rolled out of my bed for the sight of like wait what the fuck did I just see like let me rewind that real quick and I
Yeah.
had to like get up on the screen like is that old footage, what is this?
Hmm.
Yeah, I was really taken aback by that. I was just like what the
Yeah.
hell.
one of the most surprising scenes. Yeah, that's how I
Absolutely.
wrote it. Yeah. Mhm.
Um, let's see, we got so this is kind of what's interesting to me in the sequence because we see Captain Turner, which is also an interesting sequence itself because it's edited and kind of distorted, and the audio of him laughing kind of sounds funky. But for those that don't know, I was a guest on Kicking It with the Coves, and I forgot exactly what I was talking about, but I know at some point I referenced Captain Turner, and Martin Cove was kind of, I think he was, I don't know, dare I say, amused at like me remembering Captain Turner's name or something, which to me, at the time, I was thinking like, oh, he's like, oh wow, like this guy does know his stuff. But then after having seen this season, he must have been like, oh, well, we just filmed season 5 a few months ago, and I sat there in a room with the guy who played Captain Turner. I think maybe that's where his mind went, because I feel, I'm assuming Jesse and Rachel probably had seen season 5 with him. I'm not sure. I don't know if it
Or
was out at that
they
point.
knew what had happened. I think,
Right, right.
I think,
And so
yeah.
like when he kind of like, just a little laugh and said Captain Turner, I think they just kind of ignored him, because
Mhm.
they knew, kind of thing.
Right. Hmm.
That's my reading on it. At least I
Hmm.
like to think so. But yeah, do you have any other thoughts about this one? Tori, what about Tori's appearance? Not a ponytail. This isn't a look we usually see her in, wearing a gi with the hairstyle, I mean.
Yeah, I guess they're what are they going for?
I didn't do a side by side to see if like
Innocent or
Bessie.
something. I don't know,
Okay.
but just yeah, someone he's looking out for. I mean, he hasn't completely like betrayed her yet, like it's yet. So like that's why like it's just sort of like a lot of people who have impacted his life or he's trying to work for or something.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Okay.
um,
And
the
then
Johnny deepfake is good though.
oh,
I mean,
oh God, it's really
we
good.
all
I
agree. Yeah,
actually, I messaged John. I was like, "Oh, you guys got that Marvel money or something like that."
yeah,
It's yeah. He said it was deep fake.
yeah.
It
And what
does. Go ahead.
I was looking. Oh, having the young Crease. Yeah, it ends with
Oh, that's what.
Crease.
Yeah, I was about to ask
The
that.
yeah. Okay,
Yeah,
yeah. What were you asking?
I was just the fact that it ends with young Kreese, and I'm kind of forgetting like the entire dialogue, but it ends with like and you got to find him, like
Yeah, it's
you
like
have
yeah,
to look deep down
exactly. Yeah,
inside.
that's like the therapist saying something like, you got to. He's still trapped inside, and it's like the Crease from before Vietnam. I guess is what he said. Like, he's locked inside you.
Yeah,
Um,
but before Vietnam, he was not like an angry one, but I mean, he fought for everything, right? Like
mhm,
that was kind of like one of his
mhm.
uh
He
um
wanted to be a hero.
yeah, yeah, all of that.
Mhm,
So because I'm trying to figure out how that plays into like the later sequence, but maybe we could just wait until we get there,
mhm,
I suppose. But yeah, so a returning familiar faces from season 3.
mhm.
Uh, so now, um, let's see, Flagship Dojo. We're back at the LaRusso's kitchen table. Chosen and
No,
Johnny
no,
are
no.
no,
We're
no,
at
no.
Topanga now.
What?
Uh,
Topanga. I must have skipped. Okay, okay, I got it. Johnny and Chosen walking into the Topanga dojo and has a run-in with Blondie. I said that because I believe you call him that, or is it
that's what
you?
I was calling
Okay,
him when we
yeah, yeah.
first saw him. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, I really like some of the exchanges here. Obviously, we had heard the dialogue. We all lost our shit. Where it's like, adult classes are on Wednesdays. We're not here for lessons. We're here to teach you one, or I'm here to teach you one, or something. Um, I like all of this, and we find out that Sensei. Well, do you remember his name at all? I
I
feel like it's like
don't.
Woo
Yeah,
something or something Woo.
yeah.
Yeah, he mentions that he had been training like was it under Master
It's a
Kim
cool
or
moment of
Tuxedo?
Chosen's
Yeah,
fighting him how long you train at Kim Sun Young Dojo, and then he's
uh,
like my whole life, right?
yeah. I
Mhm.
like that
Yeah.
that little exchange too.
I
Uh,
really do too. It's actually yeah, maybe that's actually my favorite part of this scene here.
do you think Chosen asked him that because he's able to hold his own against the two?
Um Yeah, I think he's a little curious about the dojo too. Like, what do they know? What can they do? Um, yeah, and clearly, I think Chosen recognizes he's good. So,
Yeah, I do wonder if there's any if there was any talk about this, like how much talking do they want, between the characters during the fight, because that can also kind of like teeter into, more like 80s, fight sequences where they're talking in between fights and all that stuff. I feel like we've had some of those too, though, in the past, right? Like especially party time, right? During the prom fight, there was probably some of
oh
that.
yeah, a lot of
Yeah.
talks.
So I
There,
mean,
I
so
yeah, a lot of times when there's fights between main characters, there's usually a little dialogue. If they're fighting like random no ones, there's probably not going to be much dialogue during the fight.
yeah. And let's see. And before they get to finish, Sensei Kim walks in with the rest of the fist, and we kind of get something that parallels like the first movie, right? This is where you know
Mhm.
Johnny comes in, basically drops a challenge, and
Mhm.
Chosen, like Mr. Miyagi says, this is home court advantage, basically.
Too
Like
much
there's too much
advantage,
advantage.
right? Yeah.
Yeah, their dojo, exactly. Yeah. Um,
But it's only been
Also.
their dojo for like 2 hours. So I
Yeah,
was thinking about
tomato, tomato, it's still
still,
theirs.
still, yeah,
Yeah,
still their dojo. Yeah.
right. Now I feel this is also a lot of people's like one of their favorite moments. This is a definitely a peak Johnny moment where Sensei Kim's like, Chosen, you must be Chosen Taguchi. Oh no, no, Chosen Taguchi,
Right.
and you must be. Or I'm surprised to see Daniel
Daniel.
LaRusso has healed rather quickly or something.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. It's such out I love that out of the air, out of the blue, like humor that just nails you and it's funny. And part of the fun is like you think it through and like you realize why she does that because of course Terry Silver filled her in on, on who the enemies are who may come and cause trouble. So
Yeah.
he told her about, Chosen and Daniel. So she's just assuming this is who it is.
Oh yeah, no, that's the hilarity of it, and
Yeah.
I feel it was Twitter where I actually asked, I posed a question. I was like, "Do you guys think that maybe Terry Silver, having beat Johnny um previously? I mean, obviously he beat Daniel as well, but Daniel was the one he tormented mostly, and Johnny had just met recently. Do you think that he just didn't mention Johnny because?" Like he didn't think he was worthy of mentioning because he was supposed to stop. Did he just not see Johnny as a threat, you think?
Yeah, I think Johnny shut down the dojo. Eagle thing had stopped. But he's run into Daniel several times so far this season. So Daniel's the one who's
Yeah,
working against him, and he even said, "I'm not going to stop working against
right.
him." Meanwhile, Johnny was off, literally in Mexico. He was off doing
Right,
other things. So
right, right.
so Johnny or Silver
And you had
just didn't
Sensei
think about
Joe,
Johnny.
right? Sensei Joe, he had already met in episode two,
Right, right. Hmm.
right? So yeah, so obviously, yeah, Chosen and Daniel's who he's been running into. Okay, all right, yeah, I never really thought it out all the way through. Any other anything else? I do. She asked them, would they get into like a like Jumbi stance, or she calls them to some command where they get they kind of get in a fighting stance, and then the other two leave.
Right. Yeah. That's when Chosen's like too much advantage. But
Yeah. Okay. So we cut to the flagship dojo where we see Kyler, Kenyon, Tori. Um. Wait, is that
yeah.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're
Okay.
here now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you've
Yeah.
tried to skip to the scene like two times in a
Okay, that's what it is.
row.
I was like, did I read this earlier? Yes, I
Yeah.
did. This is where we see Devin joining Cobra Kai. We're going to find out from Terry that she basically reached out and said she wanted to join. So they credit it because of Tori. What do you think it was? The fact that Tori, um, why do you think Devin decided that Cobra Kai was worthy of her wearing their gi? Yeah, I was trying to remember what she said.
Because I think, Tori beat her again. And I think, you know, they had that bonding moment, and I think Devin doesn't want, yeah, like I only lose if I give up. So she views that as giving up.
Right.
So, you know, and she
And
has that from her mom. So yeah, she's going to kill back. And if she can learn more at the flagship dojo, that's where she's going to be.
and I think specifically the flagship dojo because the former Topanga karate, right, where she
Hmm.
started, Tori's not there, right? So she goes to the
Right.
flagship because Tori is there specifically. So
Specifically. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Anything else about that scene for you?
Um, no, this scene is pretty basic. We got Kyler eating all those protein bites.
Right.
Um,
Now, how does
just
Kenny know that
classic
you can
Kyler.
only eat one or two? Like, I'm not familiar with like these are called snake bites and like these little protein like balls, I guess. I mean, like I
No, I
guess
think
when
it's you probably eat the pack, honestly. Like if you get
uh,
those, I think they sell them, or well, not necessarily this like in the show, but like they sell like various protein snacks if you go to like a GNC or
oh,
something.
and maybe Kyler had more than one pack. I was thinking
Um,
pieces.
he hold no, he has one. I think he like
Right.
holds up and just dumps down his mouth or something.
Yeah,
But
yeah. So I think Kyler should be like the poster child of like a just say no kind of thing, because fish sticks are dope, right? So he's in a dope, and now he likes snake bites because they're crack or they're like crack,
they're
right?
like
So
crack.
so he's into dope and crack. We gotta just say no, you
Doping
guys,
crack. Doping.
right? I
You
mean, I'm
get
not
in that
wrong.
Cobra Kai, you go down the doping crack.
Yeah, exactly. Oh man, I always like anytime I think of anybody that says dope because nobody ever says like, "Hey, get off that dope" anymore. It's
Oh, right.
such an old slang. I always think back to an episode of The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air where I think the Banks plus Will, I think they had. I don't know if it was like Thanksgiving, but it was definitely a dinner, and they had a teacher over for dinner, and Will says like, I don't know if it's mashed potatoes or what, but he's like, "Hey, you got to try this. It's dope," you know. And the audience is
Oh,
laughing, and the teacher's looking at it, and I don't know if he ends up trying it or it passes, but that's the joke
right.
because he called it dope.
Dope.
Either way, I still say that like, oh, that's dope.
I guess
Trying to think.
I don't know. I don't think I was ever street enough to say that. So
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's
dope.
I was. I don't know. I mean, I'm on the street all the time for
There
sure.
you are. Yeah.
But I definitely grew up like in the urban neighborhoods and whatnot. Um, Let's see, yeah, just a little bit of Kenny here. We see Edwin in the back, who I recently interviewed, played by AJ.
Mhm.
I'm kind of forgetting who else is in the background there, but yeah,
Oh, I think yeah, Dieter's back there and Big Red. I
okay,
think.
okay,
Mhm.
yeah, you kind of your regular players there. But th
Mhm.
this episode, I had previously mentioned that the like the theme, in my opinion, was about not giving up,
Mhm.
and some setups and stuff, and some callbacks, and this is Devin calling back to what she just told Tori, like, yeah, she only loses if she gives up, so that's why she's back. It's like,
Exactly.
so if
Mhm.
she never returned to karate at all, which yeah, at this point Cobra Kai is really her only choice, then yeah, then she would lose.
Mhm.
So she was definitely close with her mom for sure.
Mhm.
Um, she called after class. Now, I guess she just could have called the flagship dojo. She's smart. She can look things up. Test for Tori. That's what we found out, and we kind of already talked about it. Basically, if she's like a worthy a champion. Sensei
Right.
Kim
Yeah.
said that, told Tori that was her test.
Yeah. He's for the first time, like I don't even like pick it up with the first, but like they're alluding to something bigger, but they don't say what.
Right.
Yeah, they're alluding to something bigger.
And and I don't think that's necessarily fair because we know how Tori really won that tournament. Um, but maybe he does see like her potential or her ceiling or whatever. That's why it's like, well, maybe I can get like Sensei Kim to really get it out of her or something.
Yeah, remember for Silver. and I do think he never thought that Tori wasn't capable. He only ever had an insurance policy. So, you
Well,
know,
yeah, he says it because that's what he believes. Yeah.
yeah, right. So you could
Okay.
be a good driver, but you still have auto insurance, right?
Right. Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
So that's how
At least
Terry
we hope.
Silver views it. Yeah, right.
Yeah, at least we
Yeah.
hope that you do. Yeah. Back at the LaRusso kitchen table, Team
Mhm.
Daniel are filling Sam and Amanda. Well, I guess half of them. I guess I could just break it up at this point. Johnny and Chosen are filling in Sam and Amanda on what just happened and what their next plan of attack is.
Yeah. And this is where
Uh,
Chosen is where it took two of us to go against one, right? Like he's like, wow, he was impressed at how skilled he was. That
yeah, and I
this incident.
feel, I'm gonna ask Michael if he doesn't hear this, this breakdown before the interview that did I wait, was that breaking news? Have I not mentioned that before? Interview with Michael
What?
Jonathan
What?
Smith
What?
coming up, you guys.
What? Oh,
So,
hey.
sorry. I don't want to have to edit. So yeah. That's going to be the next episode, you guys. Interview with Michael Jonathan Smith. I was hoping to get it before this review, but I wanted to get this review out to you guys, and then we'll talk about episodes 1, 6, and 9, which he wrote this season. So,
Mhm.
and anything about Twisted Metal, hopefully. Um, Now, Chosen, again, this is another one of those. I don't know if I feel. I feel missed opportunity comes with like a heavy negative connotation. Okay, and I do not mean that at all. And the reason I bring this up is because I feel a lot of the writers, they go back and watch, the previous movies and kind of give their version of a line or whatever, right? We get a lot of these callbacks all the time. And
Mhm.
and I am surprised as all hell for having chosen in every single episode, we did not get him saying all six. And so there was the one in season or episode
Oh,
2
right.
where
Yeah.
he could have been like, yeah, he took down all six senseis, the Valley senseis.
Mhm.
So he brings it up again here. I defeated six senseis from the Valley, but could barely, and they could barely take down just the one with those two. So he
Mhm.
could have easily said like, I defeated all six senseis, and he wouldn't have had to say it in the same cadence. He could have just said it. I think I mentioned something about Carmen in episode 209. Was it 209 where, the salsa sensei scene, she says, "Hey, don't look at my feet. Look at my eyes." That's, Michael's the one who, confirmed, yeah, that was basically a play on Miyagi's, and for
Mhm.
me, I thought it was, but just the fact that there was the words were a little bit different, but it's pretty much the same thing, and I feel like, yeah, cool, we can get the all six, but I guess this is kind of it, but maybe
Yeah,
not.
and it's really odd for this entire show. It's very rare that, in fact, I don't think it's ever happened, but it seemed like they missed an opportunity for a callback. Like
Yeah.
Definitely they nail everything, even the ones you didn't even realize. Like, you know, so
But
um,
just me being
that's,
picky, being a big Chosen
no,
fan is all. That's
I
yeah. So
understand. It feels like it's served up on a silver platter, and it just like
a Terry
where'd it
Silver
go? Right.
platter. Yeah.
On Silver's platter. Right.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
As Sensei Joe, he could have
Hmm.
said, yeah, yeah. You got all six senseis, huh? And
Hmm.
you want me to audition too? Okay, so
Anyway,
I
this
don't
is another
think,
scene
yeah,
about Daniel without Daniel in it. So,
yeah,
um,
Daniel no be
yeah,
there.
like I said, yeah, it's a very Daniel episode. It's like, what do we do without Daniel? And it was reminiscent of what does Daniel do without Mr. Miyagi? So
Yeah.
um,
I do like how Johnny talks about like wanting a pair of nunchucks, and I'm like, I've never seen him with one, I don't think, but that would be really cool.
he's
But
never used a
also
weapon. He picked up the sai
he,
once and then
yeah, I was
dropped
about to
it.
say
Yeah,
he attempted to, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Um, and I like how Amanda calls him more of a blunt instrument
Hmm.
or right, blunt instrument.
Yeah,
Okay, and he's
something like
thank
that.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I thought that was funny. Sam says that Miyagi would tell Daniel that this isn't a fight he should back out of. So this is
Mhm.
where they try to come up with some ideas. Now, the funny thing is, Daniel mentioned to Johnny earlier just that thing, like, oh, why don't you ask Robbie? I failed it, blah, blah. And I'm sure
Mhm.
Johnny in his mind was like, okay, I will. He's at home, something like that.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. Mhm.
okay. And now we cut back to the prison. Kreese is in his cell again, and he gets a visit from Gabriel and his goons. And I thought this was interesting because obviously he can't strike first, right? Even though he's Cobra Kai,
Mhm.
he's trying to play good soldier. He's trying to show this therapist that he's doing right. Um, I guess they were there to shiv him for reasons.
Um,
You miss
oh,
a shiv?
why were they
Did
there?
Yeah,
I thought
because
I think well, he says I'm here for my Jello cup.
right, but then like a shiv gets thrown onto the bed or something.
Well, someone had one. I don't know. Is
Right,
that
right,
why
right.
they were there? I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. Or maybe they just carried it around and maybe that was like they weren't
Just
planning
carry
to
it
use
on.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. And since he was fighting back, they pulled it
Hmm.
out.
Hmm.
Yeah. I mean,
Hmm.
yeah, I guess, if you're a dangerous man, you keep it as protection. So,
Right.
because I was wondering, I was like, oh, wait, were they meaning to kill him? So he was just
Hmm.
you're thinking they were just collecting the Jello,
Well,
just making the rounds.
that's the stated reason. Yeah, like.
Right, right, right. Yeah. Also in the interview, if anyone wants to check it out, Owen does talk about the sequence and all of that. I believe he mentions that he actually hits his head at one moment, but the red mark on his face, that is paint. So, so I asked, I was like, was that mark from you actually hitting your head?
Mhm.
Let's see. And basically, Kreese has a Heisenberg moment, has him say his name. It's
Yeah.
like,
Mhm.
Sensei. So yeah, I like this. So now you were the one that I saw that caught the different filters in the trailer because what was it that everyone was talking about? Because everyone caught that it was Barrett in the fighting sequence.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we
Barrett
saw him from the
Conan.
back, but it looked like it. And then he made something on Instagram or something like implying it too that it was him. So.
Yeah. So people were kind of wondering if he was just like a double. Was he back somehow, or is he playing a different character? And I'm pretty sure it was you that I saw with it first, saying that yeah, you guys noticed the filters.
Mhm.
Like when it's Barrett, it's this because all those guys in the background, they're all the same people, but
Mhm.
yeah, but the filter is different, kind of
Mhm.
signifying the two different creases there. So. If you guys
Right.
didn't notice that before, go back and check it out. Yeah, it's very interesting how they did that. Any other notes of the scene for you?
Well, this is what when the therapist said, like, find the young Crease locked inside, is this what she meant? Like, it's the funny thing is, like, this isn't like what the therapist meant about the old Crease or the young Crease. This is like the young Crease from Vietnam. Like,
Do you think he found this character though, or do you think maybe Gabriel brought it out in him?
um, but, well, I feel like it was like after the session, the previous scene where
Right.
he's seeing him all the old other people, and then in the end, he sees young Kreese. The therapist becomes young Kreese himself, right? So it ends with him actually like looking at himself, his old self, and she's like, that person's still there, locked away inside. You have to find him or something. That's more or less the line. And it's like I think like that's what he's finding, that his young self, but it's not the young self from before Vietnam that was going to marry Betsy. It's like the young self at the end of Vietnam or something, right? Like who's going to fight all these guys, and unless you think it's the young Crease from before Vietnam, but like
I
I
think
don't.
so.
I do
Oh, you
you?
don't think so? Well,
No,
well,
I didn't. Like I never even considered it.
so here's actually another question. All the dialogue from anybody that's not Crease was that them saying that stuff to him, or was that the therapist, but their face?
Oh, I'm sure it was always meant to be the therapist.
Yeah.
but like, yeah, in their face, that person.
Right.
Um,
Because like you can say the same thing and but say it differently and it'll mean something every
right,
time, right? It's all
right.
about the delivery. So yeah, that's some crafting there in that dialogue. So
Do you consider this fight then similar to when he fought the two guys behind the diner
behind
with
the
Betsy?
diner. Oh. I think so. I think so. I don't know if it's a direct parallel, but I could kind of see it, and I wouldn't even think it's a reach because they provoked him, right?
Right,
Like
right.
he was taking out the trash,
Hmm.
if I'm not mistaken. He took out the trash,
Well, he
kept
was
ball captain.
screwing with Betsy. He slapped Betsy, David, right?
Oh, right. Yeah. So he's
Captain,
taking out the
yeah.
trash. Yeah, he
Mm,
took out the trash. He saw him, and basically, he is there, kind of tries to stop him from hurting her even more, and
mhm.
yeah. So making it his business kind of thing. This one is like, yeah, well, these guys they threw the first punch. What are you gonna do?
They did. But I just
Yeah,
feel like at no point in the season really is Kreese like the that old Kreese. I feel like if he's channeling his younger self, it's the one who learned from Captain Turner. Um, he's
yeah.
told him, then gets him to, like you said, say my name. Um,
Heisenberg, you goddamn right.
yeah, exactly.
Oh man,
Yeah. So he's
yeah.
he's showing some no mercy. He's getting them to submit. Um,
Right. Everyone's chanting Sensei.
right.
I was wondering that too. I was like, well, definitely can't be like Kreese, Kreese.
Mhm.
Like Sensei sounds better.
Yeah,
Sensei.
definitely.
Yeah, I mean, because it's almost like Cobra Kai, Cobra Kai. So it almost has a similar cadence.
Mhm.
Um, let's
Yeah,
see.
that's yeah, this is like yeah, I no what, no sensei. Like that's yeah, I feel like it's like he took the lesson of the therapist, but not exactly how she meant it. He channeled his younger self, but it's the younger um
That
Kreese of from
right.
Vietnam who wants to open Cobra Kai and rule the valley or whatever.
Yeah,
Um
I mean, that's more of a Daniel thing, but I guess it happens with Kreese too. I mean, that seems to be with everybody.
mhm,
Sam's guilty of it in season three,
mhm.
right? What she learned. What's it, season four? What she learned from who was it that something about Tori, and then she goes to school, and then Tori was that season four? I think that was season four, right? Like she says the thing to Tori when Tori goes back to school. Yeah, season four, because she had to be okay with Tori returning to school,
Oh,
and it
she
was
takes the different lesson. That's
Aisha's lesson,
yeah.
or what Aisha learned from Johnny. So Johnny did teach her something, and she kind of took it the wrong way. So
Yeah,
everybody
406, right? That's
always,
stand
yeah,
up
yeah.
406. Hmm.
Was it 406 where we saw Aisha? You're probably
Yeah,
406 or seven, yeah.
yeah.
Um, Okay, so now we go to Daniel and Amanda arrive at Miyagi-Do.
Mhm.
She takes them inside, and I'm thinking, where was this bedroom when I visited? But I'm sure it wasn't there because I would have loved to walk in there and look
It
like
was off
Daniel.
limits. I'm sorry.
Yeah, right. We're saving this for season five, and no, we're not filming season three yet.
Mhm.
Anyway. I love this. I didn't even say this at the top when we were kind of talking about this episode, but Jonathan or Michael, Michael Jonathan Smith, he has been doing a lot of like the like Miyagi-centric episodes, like the letters of Miyagi and
Mhm.
things like that, and they're pretty emotional. There's a lot of sequences in this episode that really get me, and a few times in the next few minutes, right here. Starting with Daniel
Mhm.
walking into Mr. Miyagi's bedroom, which he says that he does not go in there. Now, what do you think the reason is? I mean, obviously because like it's painful, the loss of Mr. Miyagi, but do you think there's anything else behind that? Do you think he feels some sort of guilt for anything he's done in the past, i.e. the events of Karate Kid 3? What are your
No,
thoughts?
I don't think it's guilt. I just think it's I think there's a thinking like if after someone dies, like if you go in and essentially clean up the room to take everything out or whatever, then they're gone again. And so he didn't want to do that because then it would be like Mr. Miyagi's gone again. And so like he's still there a little bit if you keep it the way it was. And they
Right,
mentioned somewhere, about other things in the Miyagi's house, the set, like they have an orange there. I think
right,
this was
right.
on the DVD,
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
right?
orange
Like
and
it
apple.
was there in the original
Josh
movie.
Shield mentioned it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. And so they just put it there because, hey, it was in the movie. So we're going to continue that. So, yeah. Um,
Um, what was I gonna say? Something about was that about the DVD? No. What were we saying before that?
that,
Trying to remember. Oh,
if
no.
it,
Yeah, yeah. Keeping the room the same. It's
right.
I see that as well in like movies where maybe a parent has lost like a child, which is like,
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah,
That's
just
probably the
terrible.
most
And
common occurrence. Yeah.
exactly. And they don't want to change the room because, it'll they keep it the same because it feels like they're always around still, kind of
Right.
thing. But
Hmm.
Daniel doesn't even walk in there. But maybe just like in his mind, this is the way it is, and I know what it looks like. I don't need to walk in there,
Hmm.
probably. But
Yeah.
some of the things that not necessarily that just stood out to me, but the ones that I at least listed, that I kind of wanted to mention. I really like how there's a picture of what appears to be him during his time at the 442nd in the 442nd. So there's a black and white picture there. Did you notice that one?
I don't think I did. Where do you remember where it
It's
is in
actually,
the
yeah.
shot?
It's to the left of his wife.
Okay. I'll try to look for it. Um,
Yeah.
hmm.
Which by the way, let me pull up um because I should have looked this up earlier, but I'm forgetting the name because we do have a name for his wife now. Um
From the play, right?
yeah, yeah, exactly. It was written in the play. So for those that don't know or forgot, there was the Karate Kid play that there was a soft open in St. Louis, and I interviewed Robert Mark Kamen, and he told me that in the play, there is a character of his of Mr. Miyagi's late wife, and he gave her a name. Gosh, I didn't even write. I didn't put the name in the description, and I don't want to have to. He named her after
Was it after his mother-in-law, he said?
yeah, his late mother-in-law. But
Yeah,
you know what? I'll just play the clip. Why not?
go
Let's
for
see
it.
here. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
The drug scene
Here
ends
we go.
with um, his wife, Kyoko.
Kyoko. There we go.
Kyoko. Oh,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So yeah, make sure I stopped it. Yeah, so we see a picture of Kyoko. I mean, if I'm gonna assume that they would keep that canon, right? If Kamen came
I
up with
would
that name
assume
for
so.
that
Yeah,
character, yeah, in
yeah.
the musical. So that's where we're gonna go with. That's Kyoko Miyagi, a picture of her. But so to the left of that picture is a black and white picture of yeah, again, what appears to
I
be him in the 442nd.
Yeah, I pulled it
Are
up.
you
Or yeah,
okay?
yeah. They're in the forest. It looks like so. Yeah, but it
Yeah.
definitely looks like a military uniform. Obviously, an old picture. So.
Yeah. The funny thing is, I don't know if you remember, but for Veterans Day, and so was it before Veterans Day? Maybe it was Memorial Day, because I feel like it was a while ago that I made like kind of a graphic where I found something from that time. I think I also Googled like 442nd, and then I took like a really a young picture of Pat Morita, put it on one of the soldiers, and then I played the dialogue of him from his drunk scene in the first movie
Mm,
where he's like,
hmm.
yes, sir,
Mm,
and regret to inform, like that whole thing. I
yeah.
played that over the image. And so I'm not saying that the image is similar, but it's kind of the same thing. It was also in the forest, in
Hmm.
442nd. So,
Right.
I kind of like, kind of interested to hear stories of, from the part prop department, coming up with, all the different things there. A pair of his glasses were there.
Hmm.
What else did you notice? Old radio, really
Um,
really old radio.
yeah, just knickknacks from his head. The paint the house sign
Right.
is
Yep.
there. That's like the most obvious one, like because obviously
So
it's straight from the movie.
the interesting is like I feel. No, I know that he crumpled it up and threw it, didn't he? Like in the first movie. So, so did Miyagi do the thing that Doc Brown does, where he takes it and like tapes it
Puts
up,
it back. Yeah.
yeah, keeps it in good condition, saves it. But you're right. It's
Funny thing is maybe he like just did it again, like another time, like a year later. Daniel
yeah.
was coming over and Miyagi went fishing, so he's just like, paint the house again.
Well, you know what it is. It's a gosh. Gosh, yeah, this little stall here is gonna ruin my joke, but I was gonna say like it's their training, right? So he has like a bunch of those flyers printed out, kind of like Johnny. He just
Oh,
prints these stuff out and just hands them out. Okay, here's the
there it is.
instructions
Yeah.
for your training today. So yeah, we saw that, and there's a painting and a poster of what I think might be the bonsai tree from Devil's Cauldron because it looks like a bonsai like on a cliff or something.
Oh, that's it. Yeah, that very well could be, or just a how any bonsai would be, I guess.
Yeah,
Mhm.
could be. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
just kind of I was just like, oh, it looks like it's just kind of there on the edge of some
Mhm.
cliff or something. And I was trying to look to see if one was like split in the middle, but
Hmm.
it didn't quite look like it. Now the one bonsai by the window that looks like all brown and stuff, right?
Yeah, I think it's dead
Yeah,
because
but,
no one's
but
taking care of it, right? So,
right, but it's been years, right? So that's what I was wondering. Like it would it look like that after a few years?
I'm not a botanist, unfortunately.
No, no.
I
Yeah, man. And
um,
didn't they hire somebody that was for the show? Anyway, I'm getting
hmm,
into territory that I don't know is above my pay
yeah,
grade. Okay, so here Amanda, she's talking about how one time, was it the night before their wedding?
right, yeah, the
Yeah,
night before them, yeah.
she was
Mhm.
really nervous, and she went to go see Mr. Miyagi, who gave her tea and sake. He
Mhm.
likes to drink, and he told her everything would be all right. Daniel fights for what he believes in, and all of this
Mhm.
stuff. So again, more about Daniel, even though he's in the scene now,
Yeah,
but she's talking about a moment where he wasn't. To kind of
right.
take it back to what you've been kind of pointing out. So I like that, right? So like
Mhm.
for those again that don't know, um we had asked, John Hurwitz during season one or after season one rather, during, mini Q&As like, oh, uh, Mr. Miyagi passed away a few years after Pat Morita. What was that about? Kind of thing. Oh, we wanted him to be around the LaRussos, a little bit before his passing. So that way,
Mhm.
Sam has like a memory of him and all that stuff. And then we
Right.
heard
Mhm.
Anthony talk about it in season four. Like, I don't know this
Right.
guy. Like, you guys have all these stories and I don't know him
I don't
and
have
all this
any.
stuff.
Yeah.
So, yeah, exactly. So what the hell was I getting at? So yeah, the story that she's telling, this is the first that we've heard of her, right? Because all the other stories
Right.
were from Sam. The fish that she brought home that Amanda had to cook or whatever, and
Right.
so this is finally a story that she's sharing. I'm trying to
It
remember if
is.
she.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So you're confirming that.
Mhm.
So I love that
Mhm.
basically. And what do you have on this scene?
Well, just going on with you, yeah, that Amanda eventually came to Mystery and trusted him, as much as Daniel did. So, and I think underlying, that's why Amanda always knew why karate and everything was always so important to Daniel. And, even then when sometimes it was getting in the way of the marriage, but like she always understood where he was coming from. So clearly she has, that from Daniel as well, or from Mr. Miyagi. So, she had that connection too. So, and, the scene is just, it hits sort of the emotional, the memory of the Miyagi, and it's kind of coming together where I was thinking of like the theme, this has been a very Daniel episode. It's been Daniel in kind of the Miyagi role where Daniel was gone and now, he's remembering, um, ultimately now it gets to the point where he remembers what good he did from Robbie, and Robbie's telling the story of how he helped him. And then, Sam comes up and says, you've helped a lot of people and such. And I think that's also something, Mr. Miyagi did. Mr. Miyagi helped Daniel, and Mr. Miyagi maybe helped other people. He won the Medal of Honor too, even before that. So,
yeah. That's another, like, this scene is just beautifully written. And, I think a lot of people have heard, at this point, because I at least shared my, my Miyagi video, but I put the audio on this feed. I'm pretty sure I did. And, made the video for me. You produced the video, and, so what I'm getting at is basically, like, I've always loved the character Miyagi. A lot of people have. And so that, so it was even more emotional for me, just seeing the scene. And then the panning to Robbie as Daniel is saying, like, I can't fail these kids again. And Robbie's like, you didn't fail me. So Johnny went and got Miguel, or not Miguel, Robbie.
Well, he got Miguel too, because he's there.
Oh, yeah, right. Yeah. He brings them both. But yeah, Sam, is there. But one of the things that Robbie says, and I don't want to take from this moment, but Robbie says, like, like, I forget the exact wording, but basically he's like, I was messed up, and, you gave me a job. And I'm like, well, not necessarily. Like, you applied because you wanted to get back at your dad, it's a little bit
actually,
different.
it's Amanda that hired him too. Actually, I have that written in my notes here. It was Amanda that I was like, well, I don't want to be technical. But...
Yeah, right. See, because we were on the same wavelength, different but same. Yeah, we're just like, actually, well, Robbie, we also season 1, anyway, so give him a job. All of them want to join the fight, and he's like, all of us or whatever, and goes outside. And then my last note for this was, let's begin again. So yeah, really like that. And Snake, you got any? Oh, I do love how, like, Amanda kind of joined the ranks. Anthony's there as well. And, like, the first time we saw that, we're like, Amanda's gonna learn how to fight. Right? Like, we all thought that was, like, the first, all thought, like, first 3 episodes or something.
But it was just a moment. It's worth noting that how did they all get there? And because there's no cars there. And I think for everyone who's listened to this podcast, it's been previously discussed that Sam has a disappearing car. So my theory is, by the way, Sam drove everyone, and then her car disappeared as it is. So that could be.
Yeah. She's hiding, she's hiding it. I mean, it's a big backyard,
in the usual spot. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Let's get into our feedback. This is, feedback that was left in our group. We got a few here. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So yeah, good amount of people here that wanted to chime in. So, starting with Mike P. I think you know this gentleman here. He says, Sensei Kim, need I say more? Okay, fine. Johnny and Chozen comparing notes on how they used to bully Daniel and then trying to one-up each other on Daniel's good deeds is the ultimate fan moment I didn't know I needed. I liked learning a little bit more about Devin, Kreese therapy, and facing the demons of his past. Wow, in all caps. That scene is Martin Kove's finest acting achievement. And the Miyagi's room, Robbie returned to Miyagi-Do, all of us sequence, forget it. Mike can't come to the phone right now because he's crying in the corner like a preschooler. Probably my favorite episode of the season. Oh, look at that. Favorite season, okay. Or a favorite episode of the season. I'm pretty sure I have not heard anyone say that yet. Maybe. What do you think? Have you heard that?
I think Mikey from the Cobra Guy said that, and had it up on the top of the series too. So,
okay.
There are some. I haven't had, at least like directly to me, like in my comments, I don't think I have anyone say it was the best, but definitely I've had people say, well, one of the best. So up there, like I said,
right. And again, like what we said at the top of the show is just like, people aren't talking about it enough. And he kind of hits on all the points. And a lot of that stuff people do talk about, but like overall, the writing, man, so good. One of the longer episodes of the season too. The next one comes from Ron. The opening sequence was right out of a Tarantino movie. The music, the staging, the slow motion, even the shots of the feet as they get off the stairs.
Mhm.
Thank you for no toes. But I agree. Yeah,
Yeah.
I like it. You know, you heard Watch
They had
Parties.
shoes on.
You know,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. They did have shoes on. Yeah, yeah. At least in that sequence.
Hmm.
Um, Okay, the next one comes from JS. I like the heartfelt moment at the end where everyone came together to convince Daniel that they need him to lead. Excellent moment. I will say at first I wasn't really buying that Kreese goes from a no mercy badass to getting punked in prison. After watching a few times, I realized that it's probably because he wants out on good behavior and doesn't want to establish his dominance. Also worth noting, that the therapist said she was available the next day for a session, but apparently got him in that day judging by what else is happening in the episode. Not my favorite episode, but solid storyline for Daniel and Kreese. Oh, interesting. Well, thank you, Jay, for that.
Hmm.
We kind of touch on a lot of those, but he says got him in that day judging by what else is happening in that episode. You know, kind of the events like like probably the Topanga Dojo karate and stuff. Does
Yeah.
that
The timeline. I think.
or I mean, do you think it could have been also not in order?
Um. Yeah. I think. I mean, I think you could take it as the episode is. The sequences are not chronological. Like if you want to take Crease's scene as the next day, and then it like goes back to earlier in the day.
Right. Yeah, I didn't even think about that because I was
Yeah.
also thinking about like the other sequence from Topanga where Johnny and Chosen go back. Did they go back or did they go there?
Yeah, they went there, and then you get the Crease scene, and then they're like, and then they have the fight at Topanga. Um,
Right. And
mhm.
when we see the Blondie putting the stick down, we're assuming that that's not too long after Tori and Devin fighting over that stick, unless that's a new
Yeah,
thing they're
like
kind of
he's cleaning
incorporating.
up after the class. Sorry, right?
Exactly.
Yeah,
And obviously Johnny and Chosen, they were going to be kind of waiting. And
right.
so I'm sure they wanted to wait till all the students were gone.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah.
so yeah, thanks, Jay. There's definitely something to think about. That's interesting there. Um, Dorian says this episode is very Miyagi focused. Daniel
Hmm.
saying he understood why Mr. Miyagi avoided fights. Chosen's too much advantage line. Amanda sharing her memory of Mr. Miyagi. So heartwarming, which I agree with. But watch party, I like what you said about this is about Daniel, and they all talk about him when he's also not around. So
Yeah, yeah. It's a Daniel episode, and he's in two scenes. At the beginning and at the end. Um,
and right,
mhm.
right, and you're saying that Daniel's also like Mr. Miyagi in
Right,
this.
right. If
Yeah,
you think about it, like how John Hurwitz always talks about how they like to think of Mr. Miyagi as a character in the show, even though he's not physically there. It's like Daniel is a character in this episode, even though he's not physically there in all these scenes. So,
exactly.
mhm.
Uh, Thank you, Dorian, for that. Next one comes from Kiara. She says, I think it's my favorite episode of season 5. I can't tell which I prefer between opening scene full of Tarantino vibes, Johnny and Chosen, the family and the students who all step in together to help poor Daniel, who is lost and scared, and Marty finally showed us his skills as an actor during that crease therapy scene. Amazing. So yeah, a lot of different things to choose from. Like I said,
Yeah.
there's a lot of sequences everyone always talks about.
Mhm.
Even like a shocking moment of seeing Devin in Topanga, you know.
Topanga, yeah. And
The
getting
next
some of
one,
that, her backstory, right. Mhm.
right? Exactly.
Mhm.
Yes. The next one comes from Philomena. I believe she's also out of Australia. She says it's my favorite out of the whole series. Ooh, whole
Wow.
series. It was such an emotional roller coaster ride for me as I was broken after episode 5. Everything is just beautiful. I was welling up
Mhm.
when we saw Mr. Miyagi's room. It was beautiful seeing everyone rally for Daniel. Proves how much he means to them and how impactful he is to them. Yeah, I also Robbie calling Daniel Sensei again, right?
Mhm.
Doesn't he call him Sensei?
Uh,
Um,
yeah, I think so.
I think it does, and
Yeah.
then if you remember the last time they saw each other was at the tournament and that also didn't go well.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure. Um, she continues, it also reminds me of the scene where he is helping Sam about her post-school fight PTSD and how only she can get up when you're down. people forget in Karate Kid 3, Silver grooms, um, I'm assuming Daniel by pretending, she might have left out Daniel, by pretending to be a friend to gain his trust while getting, wait, to gain his trust him while getting his goons to terrorize him. Then he psychological and mentally abuses the kid when he's had enough to and goes to Cobra Kai. Not to mention how gaslighting Daniel was the root of him slowly turning away from Mr. Miyagi. Cobra Kai and Silver damaged Daniel too much, and having that constant reminded me having that constant reminded having that happen again. A little confused here. Even with everyone there, it should have been so easy to walk away for good, but he didn't. He was the one to get up. Maybe it was easy to talk about doing that as Silver was his monster, not theirs. That took all the courage he had. I'd like someone to acknowledge that in season 6. Don't ever tell me Daniel LaRusso isn't a badass. He'll always be badass. Yeah. Everyone has their
Mhm.
moments too, though. Their ups and downs, and
Yeah.
to be the ultimate badass, you have to have gone through some shit. And they all have, you know.
Mhm.
So yeah, and everyone's starting to learn that from one another. So
Mhm.
next one comes from Cisco. Shout outs to Cisco, also Ben Matello. They both shared uh I think was it Google? They shared their hours listened of Cobra Kai Companion this past year,
Oh,
and it's
really?
it's it's wild. Yeah, I feel like they were both in like the 100 something, like 140s or 130s. Like it's up there. They listen to a lot of Companion, so that's interesting that it tracks it by hours. I just never or minutes or whatever. I just never really thought about it. So
Mhm.
pretty crazy. So appreciate your guys' support.
Yeah.
Cisco says Johnny and Chozen interactions together in this episode is what I enjoyed the most. I need a rush hour type movie starring these two. You know what? Man, we have so many ideas. We wanted a whole season of Johnny and Daniel flying to Okinawa.
On a
You know,
plane, yeah.
on a plane. Did I say driving? Yeah, flying
No,
on a plane.
flying, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, we want the car ride, with Johnny and Chozen on the way to Pango Karate, which by the way, kind of blink and you miss it. Johnny was drinking and driving. We didn't see him open
It's
that
not the first
can.
time.
It's not the first time, but he is definitely walking from the side that would have been the driver's side of the van right behind them. So you see the
Mhm.
van, and he's walking, and he's got the Coors with him. So
Mhm.
um, I agree, Cisco. Definitely would love something like that. Randy, he says, before this season started, I never realized that the Johnny Chosen camaraderie was what I needed. If episode 5 was the most feature-rich episode, episode 6 was the most tear-jerking episode. Let me read that
Mhm.
again. If episode 5 was the most feature-rich episode, feature-rich, what's that? Does that make sense to you?
Um,
If episode
what do
5
you
was the most feature-rich episode, episode 6 was the most tear-jerking episode.
features of the show? It's not an expression I've heard, so I don't know.
Yeah,
But
I'll continue.
mhm.
Episode 6 was the most tear-jerking episode, especially with Kreese's therapy session and the final scene with all of the Miyagi Fang coming together in support of Daniel. Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
So, yeah, Randy, elaborate on that first part. Episode 5 was the most feature-rich. That might be like an autocorrect error there.
Oh,
But yeah,
yeah.
definitely tear jerking. Jonathan Smith knows how to do that.
Mhm.
And the last bit of feedback comes from James. This is an interesting question here. He says or asks, "Do you think there could have been a version of this episode where Chad McQueen returned as Dutch and he was Kreese's prison bully?" I don't know about the prison bully part. I mean, that it could have been. I mean, the short answer, yes. Like there could have been a version of this. Absolutely.
I mean, even though we talk about he's in federal prison, but if it was Dutch,
They could have worked it, right? Like,
would
just
Dutch bully his former sensei? Um,
kind of depends how he
that's
feels
kind
about
of an
him,
interest.
We,
Yeah,
he didn't jump into like help Johnny, he just kind of
yeah.
looked away. So did
It's just
he?
it would just add so much more now to like the whole story. Like it complicates it, but I'll say yes because that's what the fans want to hear.
Right, right. Okay.
People have been asking for Dutch in prison, and now I've already been bothered. Will Terry Silver meet Dutch in prison? next season?
Yeah,
Sure, why
we'll
not?
see. Yeah, sure,
Sure,
sure.
why not?
Yeah. They'll just pass each other and
Yeah,
there we go. Little fan
yeah.
service. Yep, that's it. I want to thank everyone for leaving us that feedback for episode
Hmm.
506
Yeah, it's
Ouroboros.
good stuff.
Yeah, so next one is episode 7, obviously. I do not have the title in front of me right now. I don't know if I ever really announced the upcoming titles, but hopefully we can get that out this month of January as well. I do have a family trip at the end of the month. My daughter's turning 4 and we're going back to Disneyland. The last time we did that was December 2019 when I met Mary and Julia Macchio at Disneyland. So cross my fingers. Maybe that can happen again. I know Mary and Tanner were in Disneyland recently. So, who knows? We'll see.
Oh, yeah,
Watch
yeah.
party.
Good luck.
Yeah, thank you. Do you have something you're working on that you want to tease or anything like that? And also
Um,
kind of give
yeah,
your
I'm doing
plug.
some more videos which should be coming back out. I'm back to getting onto those, doing some on season 5. I was looking at a little bit why just like I think engagement was down a little bit. Actually I think the ratings were down a little bit too. And sort of what is behind that, or just some look at that. So that's some stuff I'm putting out now. And I also recently put out the video about season 6 too. It's on the
All
channel.
right. And where can people follow you if they haven't yet already and find you on YouTube?
Right. YouTube channel is Watch Party. Yeah, just search Watch Party. It'll come up. Obviously I'm also on Twitter and Instagram, at Watch Party 1 for both of those. So,
All right. For me, nothing necessarily I'm working on. I mentioned that Chosen the Okinawan Assassin T-shirt. Well, I mean T-shirt, but any other merch from the Threadless store.
interview.
So interview coming up as well. Yeah, with Michael Jonathan
Yeah.
Smith. So hopefully, maybe something that he can tease or whatever. And I'm hoping an announcement of season 6 coming soon from Netflix. That's kind of what we're waiting on as well, an official
Hmm.
announcement of that. But also, we're past 1 week of January. January has a little over 4 weeks, and we know that February, is when they open up the writers' room. So that's just right around the corner. It's going by quick, you guys.
Hmm.
And, hopefully we'll get something, maybe some more news in the summer. I'm not sure, in the fall, maybe. So, for me, if you guys don't already follow me on Twitter, I am, at Cobra Kai Pod, at Cobra Kai Companion with a K on, Instagram. The website's still, CobraKaiCompanion.com, but after we do all 10 episode reviews of season 5, I'm gonna change the domain to probably Companion Network is what I'm thinking .com, and there you'll be able to find coverages for anything that we'll be doing under this umbrella. Watch Party, I reached out to you about possibly writing articles. So I don't know about featuring more articles, but we're definitely going to start looking at that, having people kind of write things that where people can find like all Miyagi-verse related stuff and kind of all on one site, so we'll kind of see, so just
Hmm.
bookmark the Cobra Kai Companion website right now, and hopefully that I don't know how it all works, but I'm sure that it doesn't like I think if I change the domain, the bookmark should still work, I feel, but all those details will be ironed out in the near future, and I'll obviously announce it as those things happen. So until the next episode, perfect. I'm gonna go down there and beat his ponytail ass. This is part of the Companion Network.